Mother, it turned out to be Conqueror's winding. This guy, the leader of a mere Straw Hat regiment, has such power. In the world of songs, under the sky platform, Charlotte's 6 sons were all shocked. Katakuri's pupils shrank suddenly, his mind was shaken, and he even suspected that he was hallucinating for a while. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Recall carefully, about 5 or 6 days ago, Roronoa Zoro was still the one who couldn't even awaken the conquerors and could be defeated by him with one move. In a short period of time, not only has the conquerors been raised to the point where it can be evenly matched with the mother, but even the entanglement of the conquerors has been mastered. What's the matter? He suddenly looked at the Straw Hat Luffy flying in the air, suppressing the horror in his heart. Is it this fake world? Are you? Answer me, Straw Hat Luffy. Luffy ignored him. As a toolman, Katakuri's mission has been completed. At this time, quietly watch the battle between Zoro and Big Mom. But obviously, Charlotte's 6 sons obviously don't want him to be clean. Perospero whispered solemnly. Get rid of that 3-sword style first, and then find a way to deal with the Straw Hats. Paramecia, a person with the ability to lick fruit. Candies of various shapes and syrups can be made. He clenched the candy cane tightly in his hand, and swung his other hand at the fighting Zoro. Candyman. With a loud shout, purple syrup was sprayed from his palm, and quickly wrapped towards Zoro. This is a substance that will solidify quickly. After trapping the target, the syrup will continuously invade the human body, thereby depriving the opponent of all physiological skills including breathing. With such a move, Perospero didn't think he could do anything to Roronoa. He just wanted to create a momentary opening to help his mother quickly deal with the opponent. Seeing this scene, Luffy couldn't help frowning. Although Zoro's Conqueror's Haki has reached LV5, but his comprehensive strength has not yet reached the Emperor level, and he is not very good at fighting Big Mom. I really don't listen to people's words. He flicked his arm and pounded his fist on his side. Boom. In an instant, the atmosphere cracked, and the power of the vibration spread away, intercepting the purple syrup shot at Zoro. Straw Hat. Perospero's face was solemn, and he immediately shouted, "Let's do it together, as long as we create a moment of destruction?" Before he finished speaking, the Straw Hat Luffy, who was in midair in the field of vision, suddenly disappeared from the field of vision. Kill by knowledge. His knowledge and color did not predict at all. With the naked eye alone, it is impossible to see the speed of Luffy's instant burst. Almost instantly, Luffy had appeared in front of Perospero, punching the man in the face with a fist. Don't get in the way. Perospero's pupils shrank, and his body instinctively made defenses. Candy armor. Red syrup quickly overflowed from his body, forming a purple armor rain outside his body. Meanwhile, Armament Haki concentrated his defense on the hit face. However, boom, with one punch, the armor was pierced and the armor was instantly shattered. Luffy's normal attack still pierced Perospero's hastily deployed defense. A punch fell hard, directly smashing Perospero's head into the seawater. Perospero, who had lost his center of gravity, left his feet off the ground, and he lost consciousness on the spot like a seedling pouring tea. Everything happened too fast. From Perospero's shot to being hit by the Straw Hat in seconds, there was only a short time before and after. Katakuri can't see this kind of future, and in the face of knowledge killing, predicting the future is useless. Damn. Boom. A stream of Conqueror's Haki exploded, and Katakuri shouted angrily. It's only 3 seconds, go and help Mom. While roaring, the Earth Dragon trident in his hand stabbed towards Luffy. Glutinous poisonous dragon spike. He activated the awakening technique. The water under the feet was assimilated into waxy balls, condensed into 6 spears rotating at high speed, and covered the armament Haki again, turning it into incomparably pitch black. They turned a corner in the air, launched an attack from a blind spot, and suddenly pierced towards Luffy, who had knocked Perospero down. The launch speed of this move is extremely fast, but still can't escape Luffy's predictive future. 3 seconds? You can't stop it for 1 second. Luffy's face remained normal, and while dodging to avoid the attack, he had already arrived at Katakuri's side and swept away with one kick. Katakuri reacted equally quickly when he was in danger. He blocked the Earth Dragon by his side and quickly gathered his own Haki. However, in the face of the Conqueror's entanglement, the Earth Dragon broke in response. Bang! Katakuri was kicked so hard that the muscles in his waist were even dented by more than 10 centimeters. It's too late to avoid it with glutinous dough. It was blown away without touching it at all. Puff. While being kicked away, he vomited blood violently, as if a stone was deliberately thrown by someone. It floated on the water and flew hundreds of meters in a blink of an eye. Katakuri. The faces of the remaining 4 people changed drastically. Owen gritted his teeth and plunged his hands into the water. Atami onsen. The icy seawater instantly surpassed the boiling point, and thick steam filled the air, trying to stop Luffy's attack with vision. Paramecia hot fruit ability. The other, Charlotte Cracker, quickly clapped her hands. Cookie soldiers. Dust like biscuit crumbs rose in the air, and dozens of biscuit soldiers with outstanding combat power gathered in the blink of an eye. In the original story, facing such a biscuit soldier, Monkey D. Luffy needs to open 4 gears to deal with it. Paramecia biscuit fruit abilities. The devil. Charlotte Daifuku rubbed her waist, and steam quickly escaped from her body, turning into a demon warrior. The devil warrior made of smoke immediately flew towards the platform in the sky. Devil Slash. The person he was targeting was obviously Zoro. The actions of the 3 happened almost simultaneously. When Luffy was about to stop, Charlotte Snug, one of the 4 stars of the dessert, approached him actively, and a huge blade slashed at him. It's a good match. Luffy grinned, feeling a bit full for now. As soon as the thought moved, it instantly entered the 5th gear state. Sun God. With a flick of one arm, he flew directly towards him and slashed with a big knife. The next moment, he ignored Snag, but quickly came to the midair, and kicked the demon man into smoke. Fast. Damn monster. Charlotte Daifuku's face was livid. After seeing the demon being blown up with a punch, the sound of the sea bursting due to the opponent's high-speed movement was heard. Supersonic. The instantaneous burst speed of the Straw Hat is faster than the speed of sound. However, the next moment, the silver-white figure above the field of vision disappeared again. But because of the existence of the steam, he can barely judge the opponent's moving direction from the trajectory of the steam collapse. Come on yourself. Before losing consciousness, Charlotte Daifuku saw only a leg in a white suit sweeping towards his head. Boom. Another person was kicked away while vomiting blood. Charlotte Owen's pupils trembled. It's outrageous. It's like beating a child. Although the mother is also an emperor-level combat power, the combat power displayed by the Straw Hat Luffy at this moment makes them feel even more palpitating. That kind of strength that can't be resisted. I don't know how I was hit. Unimaginable swiftness, and terrifying destructive power. The moment this idea was born in my mind, a silver-white figure had already arrived in front of him. Kick. A kick from bottom to top hit his chin precisely. In an instant, Charlotte Owen lost consciousness and was kicked hundreds of meters into the air. And at this time, the biscuit soldiers hidden in the steam finally locked on to the target. One by one desperately gathered around Luffy, launching an attack without fear of death. Ha 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 ha. A string of laughter sounded. Black and red lightning burst out, and in an instant, IV-6 a conqueror swept past, just a hurricane formed by physical coercion, blowing away all the biscuit soldiers around. Impossible. Cracker made a look of disbelief. Similar to how a mother would make a weird noise when she was extremely sad, the burst of Conqueror's haki can achieve a stronger effect when this person is laughing. Rumble. Black and red lightning flashed like thunder, overflowing the sea. There are 2 left. Luffy held his right hand in the air, armament haki condensed in his palm, and threw it towards Cracker like a cannonball. Armed cannon. Boom. The big bang swept across, as if a scorching sun was born, and everything within a radius of several hundred meters was involved. The power of this explosion even encloses the user himself. It even affected Zoro and Big Mom who were at war. Charlotte Linlin trembled all over, and her head exploded with anger. In a blink of an eye, all 6 of his sons were defeated. Your opponent is me, Big Mom. Zoro sheathed the 2 blades, Shan and Dao Yi Wenshin. Ichikatsuri Juhei Black Sword Death Lion Singing Song. A black blade light flashed, accompanied by Zoro's advance. Big Mom was distracted, and subconsciously raised his hand to block in front of him. Puff. A small knife wound appeared, which made her expression a bit shocked. So hard. But, Zoro looked back at the other party, grinning and said, the steel balloon is not completely unstoppable. Boom. Conqueror's haki broke out. Big Mom seems to be transformed into a ghost, with blood-red eyes. Stop getting carried away. Brat. In the words, the wound on the arm has recovered as before. Seeing this scene, Zoro froze for a moment. What happened? I managed to cut a little bit, and recovered immediately? Luffy laughed and reminded. She is a soul fruit capable person. She can endow her soul with flesh and blood. This kind of injury can be easily healed. Come on, Zoro. After finishing speaking, I started to watch the show in a leisurely manner. Zoro's face darkened. The 4 emperors are really monsters. At the same time as the battle at Cake Island. Sanctuary Marie Joys, between the powers. Backquote. What did you say? Straw Hats and Big Mom have contact. Facing the 5 elders who lost their composure, the chief of the CP organization nodded heavily. Our spies lurking in Cake Island, the news just came. But the specific reason is not known yet, only that it seems to be related to the marriage. Between spies are poor creatures. Wang Guo, who lurks Big Mom, is the poorest of the poor. A certain number of lifespans must be surrendered each month to stay in that country. Moreover, in order not to reveal the identity of the spy did not dare to take the lead at all, and could only pretend to be the lowest level citizen. The news I got was just some minor details, just like this moment. It is not known why the Straw Hats and Big Mom came into contact. Even Katakuri was caught by the Straw Hat crew. The only thing I know is about marriage. Can't be sure it's true. 5 elders waved his hand, making people back off. Seiden Sheng's forehead with a headache. The Straw Hat has become bigger, and it is very difficult to move him now. If he is married to Big Mom again, it will be a disaster. Sabodi Archipelago was the best opportunity. After that miss, once in New World things got tricky. Calm down. Although the situation is bad, as long as you wait quietly for the opportunity, there will always be flaws. After thinking for a moment, Sa Tansheng took out the phone bug and said. At this point, contact Vegapunk. New World, Egg Point Island. In the huge laboratory, Bartholomew Kuma was lying quietly on the experimental table. It's over, thank you for your hard work, Paluzolino. A government scientist with 500 years of world-leading technology, Vegapunk sighed. Big Bear's transformation has been completely completed, he no longer has self-awareness, and is completely a killer. The old man will report to the government. Kizaru, who was on the side, was eating ramen leisurely. Suddenly, the voice on the phone rang. It's me. Oh. Seiden Saint. Give the phone bug to Vegapunk. Kizaru did as he was told. Then, I heard a conversation between the two sides. Regarding the issues of Seraphim, that weapon, and funding, there was a tug of war. In the end, it seems that Seiden-san, one of the 5 elders, threw in the towel, choosing to pay 5 times as much research funding as before, while Vegapunk promised to do it as soon as possible. Finally, the phone bug returned to Huang Yuan's hands. Kizaru, the Straw Hats are in contact with Big Mom. The location is Cake Island. Go and investigate what happened. Communications were cut off shortly after the order was issued. Kizaru took a sip of noodles and got up lazily. Admiral is really working hard. Send out the same emotion as Aokiji. Then why did you want to be promoted to Admiral? Vegapunk stuck out his long tongue and had a gigantic head. Those 2 people came into contact, and you didn't even go there. Meaning, it might be life-threatening. I can't help it, who made this old man a social animal? Kizaru scratched his head with his index finger, looked at the half bowl of ramen left, and walked out of the laboratory full of satisfaction. Vegapunk was speechless. Social animals? Since it is a social animal, then there is a way of living as a social animal, and it should be fine. Then this. Monkey D. Luffy slave. He took out Luffy's bounty order from his pocket, and the photo was in Nika's form. That's it, the sun god in the ancient literature. Come quickly, if you don't come, maybe the 5 elders will do something. The world of songs. After seeing Roronoa Zoro cut himself for the first time, Big Mom was completely enraged. She exudes a very terrifying conquerors. Facing her attack, Zoro, who also masters tyranny, is quickly suppressed. Zoro had to raise his spirits. At this time, there was no one to disturb. Charlotte's 6 sons were all blown away, and Luffy was watching the battle leisurely. Uta sang on the big sky stage. After singing New Era, he changed another song to cheer for Zoro. Hey, UTA, comes out at 10 o'clock. Luffy yelled at UTA 10 times. Yes, Uta responded vigorously. Then, in front of Luffy, a white table and chairs appeared out of thin air. Delicious desserts and coffee are set on the table, and there are even thoughtful sugar packets. Thanks. Luffy smiled and sat down, eating some sweets and drinking coffee. While enjoying UTA singing, watching Zoro and Big Mom fight. Hey, Luffy. Zoro was repelled by Big Mom, and smelling the sweet fragrance in the air, he couldn't help turning around and shouting. Do you want to eat too? Who wants to eat it? Shouting like this, Zoro swung his knife again to resist Big Mom's slash. Boom. Black and red lightning overflowed, and the fight between the two continued to entangle conquerors. The sound like thunder continued to come. Seeing that Zoro was completely suppressed, it didn't look like he could beat him at all. It is also IV5's armed color and IV5's conquerors. The gap between the two in hockey is not that big, and it can even be said that they are evenly matched. But the physique of both sides seems to be an insurmountable gap. Can you do it, Zoro? Luffy took a sip of coffee and tried to use the aggressive method. Big Mom was only using the most basic melee combat, and didn't even use the YY fruit. Phew. Don't make sarcastic remarks. As soon as Zoro gritted his teeth, he was really hit by the aggressive method. Grabbing a small flaw in Big Mom's shot, he immediately drew out the second knife. Two swords style, two cuts. Zoro held the knife with both hands behind his back, while avoiding Big Mom's fist, he made a bottom-up slash. Go upstairs. Wrapped around armament hockey, but was avoided by Big Mom. Should go upstairs. The subsequent move was changed to a top-to-bottom slash. Huh, it's so fancy. Big Mom snorted, raised arm and blocked the move. Roronoa, your hockey has become weaker. He swung his other arm and hit Zoro hard in the stomach. Bang. Zoro spat out the acidic water in his stomach, was blown away, and flew out of the sky platform. Flew in the direction of Luffy. Luffy immediately reached out, stretched his arms, and grabbed his shoulders all at once. Be careful not to knock over my afternoon tea. Zoro. Holding his belly, he was so angry that he wanted to kill someone. Mama. Straw Hat, this green boy's hockey is really good, but his sword skills are far from good. Big Mom's conquerors ran over to Luffy. Just because he wants to beat my mother in practice for another 100 years. Really can't beat it. Luffy drank his coffee, heart extinguished. The gap between the combat power of the Imperial level and those below the Imperial level is similar to that between a human and a dog. Zoro's current strength can fight with Charlotte Katakuri, and the probability of winning is very high. But in the face of the real four emperors, there is still a lot lacking. At the beginning, he thought that he had reached the Emperor level, but he barely reached it on the basis of awakening Nika plus Conqueror's level 5. Zoro only has hockey, and his physique is far inferior to him at that time. His swordsmanship can be called a swordsman, but there is still a distance from the great swordsman. Are you still fighting? Luffy has been deliberately cultivating Zoro, treating him as his right-hand man. Now let Zoro fight with Big Mom, the same is true. In contrast, Sanji doesn't get that kind of treatment. Of course, Sanji doesn't need it either, he just needs to wait for his plugins to arrive in the account. Poor people rely on hard work, while princes rely on technology. Although today's Straw Hat team, the live broadcast team, the fourth team, and the fourth team. But the two people he looks forward to the most are still Zoro and Sanji. As for Bartolomeo, his trust in this little brother is far inferior to that of Zoro. Huh. I have experienced the combat power of the Emperor level, is the eagle eye so strong? Zoro gasped softly. Basically, Hawkeye is the #1 swordsman in the world, and of course he is considered an emperor. Luffy mumbled the answer, still eating the donut. You can talk about it after you finish eating. Be careful to choke you to death. Zoro turned into a shark mouth, sat down and shouted, UTA, bring me some wine. He realized the gap, and said it was pointless to continue fighting. Ha. Let you eat the rest. Luffy laughed, and when he got up, he had already entered the Nika form, substitution, Big Mom. As soon as the voice fell, people rushed out. After getting close, he punched out brazenly. The power of vibration, conqueror's twine. Faced with such a ferocious attack, Big Mom did not dare to be careless, and fought against each other in the same way. Boom. With a thunderous bang, the shockwave overturned the dining table in front of Zoro in an instant. His hand reaching for the dessert basket froze in midair. Ignoring his protest, Luffy grinned and said, Your hockey is weak. Fighting with my team leader for so long has consumed a lot of your energy. It didn't take long, about 10 minutes. Who are you calling weak, Straw Hat? Big Mom is very unyielding and enhanced the output of Haki. The sky above their heads was torn apart by Conqueror's conflict. A tear in the true sense, not a cloud. Ah! Uta screamed, stopped dancing quickly, and concentrated on restoring the torn sky. Scared to death. She patted her chest, one of them didn't pay attention, almost causing two people to shatter the space. The space created by the Fruit of Songs is not that fragile, but it was not expected that it would be damaged due to the confrontation between the two four emperors. After repairing it this time, it was as stable as Mount Tai immediately, and it was difficult to be shaken again. After noticing this, Big Mom's face suddenly turned ugly. Her momentary distraction was caught by Luffy. Armed cannon. A large amount of armament Haki was condensed in the fist, and finally a huge explosion occurred with a bang. The billowing smoke engulfed the two fistfighters. The next moment, Big Mom flew upside down. Luffy was so powerful that he didn't want to let anyone go. With a flash of his figure, he immediately chased after him. His right hand rapidly became bigger, and in an instant it became a huge fist with a diameter of 100 meters. Boom! A punch that fell from the sky knocked Big Mom, who was still standing still, directly into the sky. She landed in the shallow water, and suddenly there were tall waves. Ahem. A little pain, Straw Hat. A trace of blood overflowed from the corner of Big Mom's mouth, and he stood up immediately. It's quite durable. Luffy stood in the air, and his huge fist returned to normal in an instant. And the Big Mom below also activated the power of the Soul Fruit to repair the body's injuries. Of course, this kind of repair is not without consumption. Depending on the injury, the vitality consumed is also different. HMPH, Straw Hat, is this the only level? Ha ha ha, then increase the intensity. Luffy likes to slap people in the face on the spot. As soon as the voice fell, his Haki immediately began to climb, and the black and red lightning all over his body was extremely manic. Seeing this, Big Mom burst out with its own Haki immediately. The conquerors of the two began to confront each other in the air. This is very Haki-consuming behavior, and one's Haki is not unlimited. The next moment, the two rushed towards each other at the same time. The real world, the Grand Ballroom. A group of people surrounded the unconscious Big Mom. Chopper suddenly said, "Look, Haki from Big Mom is starting to weaken. Get out of the way." Luo took a step, and grabbed Big Mom's heart with his right hand. After getting close, Haki's power blocked his ability again. But it has declined a lot compared to before. 3 more minutes is enough. Luo Shen said. Bartolomeo, 3 minutes? But the people below have discovered the anomaly. The Charlotte family? I'll block them. Sanji immediately prepared to go out. Robin laughed and said, "There are a lot of girls, let me do it." Huh? Robin? Usopp froze. Robin's strength is not outstanding in Straw Hat Crew. Just blocking for 3 minutes sometimes doesn't necessarily require a lot of strength. Robin smiled and closed his eyes. At the same time, Cake Castle, a large platform on the top floor. Bree said anxiously, "Absolutely something happened. The situation is so abnormal. It's really not right." Smoothie ran to catch the mouse. The so-called mouse should be the man in the straw hat? I can't wait any longer, I have to go up and have a look. Bree, open mirror world. Members of the Charlotte family stood up one after another and prepared to dispatch. At this time, a pair of eyes suddenly appeared in the sky above everyone's heads. Those are very huge eyes. The 2 eyes are very beautiful, obviously women's eyes. They appear abruptly in the sky, as if the gods are looking down on the world. What is this? Everyone was shocked. I'm the Straw Hat Pirates archaeologist, Nico Robin. With big eyes watching everyone, Robin's voice came from the sky. Nico Robin, the woman who was offered a reward of 500 million by the government. What kind of ability is this? As soon as we were about to dispatch, this woman appeared. Sure enough, something tricky. Many family members were suddenly awakened by these words. Robin's chuckle sounded. Our Straw Hats have agreed to marry your Big Mom pirates. Everyone was startled. The 2 parties in the marriage are Aladdin, the vice captain of our 5th team, and Charlotte Praline, the 21st daughter of your Charlotte Linlin, one of the 34 ministers. Right now, we are discussing the date of the wedding. Don't worry, there will be a result soon. And may I ask, who is Charlotte Praline? Everyone was bluffed for a moment. Bree said loudly, "She's not here. Is what you said true? What about brother Katakuri? How is it? Are you Bree? I heard your name from your brother." The big eyes are full of smiles, chatting with Bule about the daily life as if chatting. Unknowingly, minutes passed. From what Katakuri likes to eat, to who Katakuri's favorite sister is, to the couple who are married, Robin procrastinates from various angles. No, don't be fooled by her. Flamp, the youngest, suddenly shouted, is this woman stalling for time? We need to see Mom. We won't believe anything you say unless it comes from Mom herself. Say something back. Yes, that's right, you are still enemies. Now, get out of the way, we are going to the island. Bree, open the mirror world directly. Don't order me, I know. Bree, who came back to her senses suddenly, faced her palms up and down, and a mirror surface was born immediately, and expanded rapidly with her stretching movements. Allah! Was it exposed? The big eyes in the sky revealed a smiling expression. However, the task has been successfully completed. Welcome to the island, Charlotte family. After finishing speaking, a pair of big eyes turned into blossoming petals and disappeared. Disappearing together, there is also a mouth hidden behind the big eyes. Damn it. Got put together. Hurry up. Someone scolded angrily, and everyone quickly entered the mirror world. The other side. Grand banquet hall. Robin opened his eyes and turned around to see Luffy sitting on the main seat, throwing a heart up and down in his hand. Meanwhile, Big Mom and her 6 sons were standing aside with livid faces. Luffy, here they come. Thank you, Robin. Luffy smiled lightly and said, Big Mom, your children are here to save you. It's now, don't put on airs in front of my old lady. Big Mom burst into flames. 2 minutes ago, she was fighting the Straw Hat in the world of songs. Suddenly at a certain moment, the other party stopped, saying something like, it's time, and then disappeared suddenly. After that, she and her 6 sons also woke up in this hall one after another. After waking up, everyone found that their hearts had been taken out. Until this moment, she understood. I and others were completely overshadowed. Of course, she didn't say anything meaningless like meanness. Everyone is a pirate, and each other's purpose is not pure, it is nothing more than the other's superior skills. However, it wasn't her who was hurt the most, but Katakuri. He touched his heart, and the heart that had just been brought back not long ago was far away from him again. This time, my old lady admits it. Tell me, what do you want? Big Mom spoke calmly. At this time, her family members rushed in one after another. Mother. Mom, are you okay? Straw Hat Luffy, what the hell are you doing? As soon as they entered the door, everyone was noisy. There are a lot of them, about 34 of them, not only family members, but also combatants like Baron Eggs and Pokmas. Luffy is still throwing the heart in his hand. This heart belongs to Big MQM. He smiled and said, welcome to my site. Next, let's seriously discuss about the wedding in a friendly atmosphere. The tables turned. It was Big Mom who wanted to get married before. But at this moment, the situation is different. Many members of the Charlotte family looked at their mother in unison. Big Mom's expressionless opening, you are vicious. You are vicious. Big Mom, who was swayed, stared at the heart in Luffy's hand. I really want to take it back, but obviously I can't do it by force. Straw Hat Luffy's fighting power is much stronger than she imagined. In the fight in the world of songs, if no one interferes and keeps fighting, she will probably lose, and it won't take long. She snorted and said, in this case, you still want to get married. What is the purpose? Of course, it is impossible to fall in love with her daughter, and the person who married is not a Straw Hat. If she could fall in love with her daughter, things would be much simpler. Everyone in the Charlotte family who broke in looked at each other, and didn't understand the situation for a while. However, seeing their mother was safe and sound, these people quickly calmed down. They gathered behind Big Mom and listened to the conversation between the 2 pirate emperors without saying a word. Luffy laughed and said, don't you want to get married? What I said before is true, including the alliance. Is the alliance formed in this way? Big Mom's expression is a bit exciting, holding her heart to form an alliance with her. Is this an alliance or an annexation? However, at this moment, there is no room for rejection. Okay, I understand. Now that you say that, let's talk about the importance of the wedding seriously. Big Mom simply let go, and she sat back where she was sitting before. Luffy gestured to Mr. 3 with his eyes. Galdino immediately poured her a cup of black tea. Big Mom picked up the black tea and swallowed it in one gulp, and put it into his mouth together with the ceramic cup. The teacup was crushed by her, making a crackling sound. It's Aladdin and my daughter Charlotte Praline who got married, right? That's right. Mama. Won't you consider marrying my mother's daughter yourself? Big Mom laughed, and then announced several names. Charlotte Garrett, 29 years old, single. Charlotte Pudding, 14 years old, unmarried. Charlotte Flamp, 13 years old, unmarried. The three of them will fit your kid's aesthetic. Saying so, Big Mom glanced at the female members of the Straw Hat group present. She herself was a big beauty when she was young, and of course she also knows what men like. If you are not satisfied, the three of you can marry you together. Niang can also agree. Luffy was speechless for a moment. You're really welcome, sending your three daughters here. Do you want to find a chance to regain your heart? Kaya, Nuoqigao, Robin, the expressions of the three women are a little subtle. Kaya is staring wide-eyed, shocked by Big Mom's proposal. Three daughters marrying Mr. Luffy at the same time? Nuoqigao just raised his forehead, feeling speechless about the marriage between such powerful forces. She is obviously a daughter, but at this time she is a bargaining chip on the negotiating table. Robin held his chin with one hand and looked at Luffy with a smile. Seeing Luffy's speechless expression, he became happy. No need. Luffy refused on the spot. He likes beautiful women, but it's not just about looks. There are beautiful women all over the world. Most of the mermaids in the Fishman Island are good-looking, but he has no interest at all. As for the three daughters of Big Mom, he only has a little impression of Charlotte Pudding. A mixed-race three-eyed girl with memory fruit ability. Dangerous elements. He didn't want to finish his work on her at night, and then have his memory edited by the person next to him. While his haki is strong enough to resist most psychic types of paramecia fruit, it can sometimes show flaws if it is not even enough. After all, when a man is in a good mood, he will still be a little bit on top. Thinking about the previous life, I don't know how many heroes fell under the trap of beauties. Mama. Don't think about it anymore. My mother is married to other people, and the men are all married. This time, there is a lot of bleeding, and the three daughters are married to you together. What dissatisfaction do you have? Big Mom grinned. The family members behind him, except for the sixth son whose heart had been taken out, were all stunned. As a mother now, it seems that she can't wait to send her daughter to Straw Hat Luffy. What happened? Although I don't understand, there is no place for them to talk at this time. Just talk about the wedding. Luffy was unimpressed. Hearing this, Big Mom temporarily gave up the idea of sending his daughter. Give up temporarily, but don't give up completely. In order to get back his heart, it doesn't matter whether it is useful or not, at least there will be no mistakes in using it. If the Straw Hats like her, she doesn't even mind doing it herself. A wedding, first of all, is the location of the wedding, the date of the wedding, and the people invited to the wedding. Straw Hat, do you want to make a special event, or do you just follow the process? Luffy drank tea calmly. The wedding will be on the news. The wedding itself is not important, the important thing is to let the world know. This is to deter the world government. Really? I see. Big Mom understood immediately, squinted his eyes and asked, what about the people who invited to participate? Come on, I'll invite some people, you can do whatever you want. Luffy smiled. Since it is going to be on the news, of course the background must be displayed. What Whitebeard pirates, Garp, Revolutionary Army, even Kizaru's second brother-in-law, Aokiji uncle, etc., if possible, he will send out invitations. He could even laugh if the 5 elders wanted to come. When the time comes, UTA will sing a song, all will be wiped out. As for Luffy's plan, Big Mom can't figure it out. But when the man invites someone, she, as the woman's natal family, naturally has to put on a corresponding scene. All for the news. Don't wait for the Straw Hats to be well known and their own side will be compared. Where is the wedding? She asked with a half smile. Cake Island. Time? 1 month later. During the friendly and cordial meeting, the Straw Hats and the Charlotte family exchanged views frankly and finally reached a gratifying agreement. As for the two parties who made the marriage contract, no one cared from the beginning to the end. After Big Mom left with her people, Jinbei found his deputy captain, Aladdin. Aladdin is a mermaid, a bearded weasel mermaid, the doctor and deputy captain of the Sun Pirates. With a mouthful of sharp teeth and a soaring ponytail, there is a 1C tattoo on the left arm. Wearing a long vest with the logo of the Sun Pirates, the Sun logo representing the Sun Pirates, is located on the left abdomen, and the weapon used is a trident. Boss Jinbei, what can I do for you? Aladdin and other Murlocs are responsible for guarding the port of Elegia. Seeing Jinbei looking for him, Aladdin surfaced and asked. Jinbei opened his mouth, was speechless for a while, and finally patted him on the shoulder. Aladdin, you are 38 years old, are you willing to get married? Why? Aladdin froze. Jinbei sounded Luffy's explanation, then Shansu said seriously. Do you want a daughter-in-law? It's a mermaid. Captain Luffy concluded a marriage contract for you, and the object is the daughter of Big Mom. Akadin was stunned. How can this be? I haven't even met the woman, so the engagement has already been decided. What's my opinion? Besides, I'm the vice captain of the Sun Pirates. I'm married, what should the pirates do? Boss Jinbei, why don't you push me away? A series of rhetoric, full of resistance. This is Charlotte Praline, the photo of your marriage partner. Jinbei reluctantly took out a photo and handed it to Aladdin. Does he have room to refuse? It's a matter decided by the 2-4 emperors, and Captain Luffy has also helped the Fishmen Island a lot, so I can't speak at all. Moreover, the target is also a mermaid. Considering that Aladdin is also 38 years old, it might be a good thing to be able to get married. Why is it like this? Aladdin looked down at the photo and suddenly fell silent. Seeing his reluctance, Jinbei took a deep breath and said, if you really don't want to, I'll talk to Captain Luffy. No, get. Aladdin said with a firm face. How can a man go back on what he promised? Don't worry, I won't let Mr. Jinbei and Captain Luffy make it difficult. Jinbei. You haven't eaten any good meat. Cake Castle. Bree wandered around Katakuri. Brother Katakuri, are you okay? It's okay. It's not okay, it was calculated by Straw Hat Crew. Katakuri looked serious. Forget about his heart, even Mother's heart is controlled by that man. From now on, the Big Mom Pirates may be the only Straw Hats to follow. What? Bree asked suspiciously. What happened, Brother Katakuri? Charlotte Cracker said with an ugly face. The heart was taken away, everyone we went up. Briefly described the matter. All of a sudden, the family members were extremely angry. Mom. That straw hat is too sinister. Big Mom raised his hand to stop the meaningless emotions of the family members. This is the end of the matter, there is no point in talking nonsense. The first thing to consider now is how to get the heart back. It is very difficult to use force to work, and it is the ultimate means of killing the fish and breaking the net. The beauty trick was also rejected, but the kid is very young and there are plenty of opportunities. Thinking of the 3 daughters proposed before, when the Straw Hat heard Pudding's name, his expression fluctuated a little. The Straw Hats know Pudding, or at least heard of it. Where's Pudding? Big Mom asked with a grin. Pudding is in Chocolate Town, where she opened a coffee shop, it seems to be called Caramel? Flamp muttered with her mouth pouted. The other 2 were not there, but she was. The Straw Hat refused, what a rage. Although she doesn't want to be sent into marriage at all, she is the number 1 sister among the cutest sisters in the Charlotte family. Self-esteem took a hit. Let Pudding come to see me later. Big Mom gave an order. The third eye, once opened, can read the text of history. This daughter has a different place in her heart. Straw Hats have Nico Robin, and she has Pudding. However, Pudding has not been able to open his eyes, and has not awakened. At this moment, Charlotte Smoothie walked in, looking slightly injured. Mother. Smoothie, what's the matter with you? Smoothie's tone was serious. I fought with the captain of the Straw Hats' second team, Princess Vivi, the Princess of Alabasta, and a woman named Nami. 1. Big Mom frowned. What's going on? They are all capable of Logia, and they all have very strong hockey, but they don't have enough combat experience, if not. Smoothie's expression was not very good. In the first fight with Vivi, she had the absolute upper hand, even though the opponent has hockey who can see the future. But seeing the future, it is still meaningless not being able to hide. Unfortunately, Nami, Thunderfruit's ability user appeared later, this ability is too powerful. With 1 against 2, there is no way to fight. They left after rubbing a copy of the historical text. History text. Big Mom is puzzled. The historical text of the road sign has been given to the Straw Hat as a bargaining chip. The historical text mentioned here is obviously another piece. Collecting another one on purpose. Does that guy with the straw hat have any deep meaning? After treating Luffy as an existence of the same level, Big Mom had to seriously consider this point. Is there any important information hidden in the ordinary historical text? Just as he was thinking, another family member arrived. Charlotte Praline. a merman with yellow hair and a Madara tit on his face, a hybrid of human and merman. Of course, human refers to Big Mom. As for who the father of the male mermaid is, even Praline, who is a daughter, does not know. Mom, what do you want from me? This is your marriage partner, and you will marry him in a month's time. Big Mom asked Aladdin's photo to be handed to her. When Praline saw it, she was stunned. It was very sudden. However, out of loyalty to her mother, she did not show any resistance or dissatisfaction. I understand, since it is my mother's choice, I will obey. Elegia. Grand Banquet Hall. Vivi and Robin are back, and the spirit Perona has also entered through the wall. Luffy, this is the second rubbing. Nami handed the freshly baked rubbing to Robin, and asked curiously, Robin, what's written on it? Going out of her way to get what she gets, and both she and Vivi care. Wait a minute. Let me take a look first. Robin spread out a square piece of paper on the table, and quickly looked at it seriously. The expression gradually became surprised. Luffy, it says something about the flood. What's the Great Flood? Luffy raised his eyebrows. More than 800 years ago, the sea level of this world was not as high as it is now, and then there was a huge flood, which submerged the whole world, causing many islands to be submerged. By the way, Wano-kuni was also mentioned above, and it was said that there was a person with the ability of Shimashima fruit who built a high wall around Wano-kuni, which saved Wazai from the flood. Robin squeezed his chin, feeling a little unbelievable. What kind of flood can affect the whole world? It's hard to imagine. Others were also surprised. Usopp turned green with fright. The whole world? This is too scary. The unimaginable picture is like a story in a myth. Luffy was not particularly surprised. The content mentioned in this historical text is probably not the current Wano-kuni, but ancient Wano-kuni. A high wall was built around the ancient Wano-kuni, because of the accumulation of rainwater all year round, or for other reasons, the whole country was flooded. The current Wano-kuni was redeveloped on the mountainside on the basis of that. Shaking his head, he did not think about the Great Flood for the time being. Luffy laughed. In short, the wedding has been finalized. It's time to send out invitations. By the way, who is going to send an invitation to 5 elders? His eyes turned and stopped on Moria, showing a kind smile. Moria, do you have a subordinate who ate the transparent fruit? Absalom, who was busy repairing houses far away in the town of Elegia, suddenly shuddered. I have a bad feeling in my heart. Absalom, one of the 3 weirdos under Gecko Moria's command. Paramecia transparent fruit ability, transparent people. Can make one's own body transparent, and can also make people and things in contact with the body transparent. At this time, being summoned by the big Captain 4 Emperor's Straw Hat Luffy, Abu Sarab was a little nervous. Captain Luffy, Lord Moria. When he came to the living room, he saw Luffy and Moria, and quickly knelt down on one knee and greeted them respectfully. There is an important task for you. This is an invitation to the wedding in a month's time. You go to 5 elders' office. Luffy gave the captain's order. Absalom was dumbfounded. He is just a cadre under the command of former Shicibukai. How can he take on such an important task? He couldn't help but look at his own captain. Moria shook her head and said, Absalom, your ability will not be a problem. Even if you are caught, I will rescue you. After Summit War, he got slapped by Doflamingo. At that time, it was Absalom who saved him. Although Moria was hit by Hado by Kaido and turned into a waste, she still takes this kind of life-saving grace to heart. Luffy smiled and said, your transparent fruit, observation hockey can't detect it either, so feel free to go boldly. It's not completely undetectable. If the top observation hockey envoys want to investigate, they can still feel a little breath. For example, he himself can easily spot the invisible Absalom. His sense of knowledge is too strong. At this time, Absalom's heart was red. Captain Luffy is right. My ability is not afraid of being overwhelmed by knowledge. This has been proven in Doflamingo. If I can complete this important task of 493, my status in the Straw Hat Fleet will also increase, right? It is impossible to become a big cadre and a captain in the future. Thinking of this, Absalom immediately solemnly said, I understand, Captain Luffy, I will definitely complete the task. Infiltrate the holy site, drop an invitation in the 5 elders' office, and retreat safely. Well, no problem. Watching him go, Moria couldn't help asking. Is it really going to be okay? There shouldn't be a problem. Luffy shook his head. In the original story, Cobra, Sabo, and Wapol faced the 5 elders in IM. Except for Cobra, who died tragically, the other 2 escaped. And he just asked Absalom to send invitations, which was much less difficult than eavesdropping. Cake Island is fine for the time being, I'm going back. With that said, he got up and left the living room. Invite the 5 elders to the wedding, it is both mocking and casual. What if he really ran away? Although the probability is approximately equal to 0. Those were the few people who asked others to test the poison even for their meals. If they really dared to come, he would have to admire the courage of these 5 old men. On the way back, Luffy contacted Garp again. Grandpa, is the remnant mirror of the Golden Lion here? Oh, Luffy. East Blue is already safe. Some of the remnants ran back to the Grand Line. The news said that you went to the Holy Land to make a big fuss. Ha ha ha, you are indeed my grandson. Garp has already looked away from Luffy taking down a group of celestial dragons. There is no possibility of any coexistence between the Sun God and the world government, which he has fully understood. Now, he is not bound by the position of Marine, and naturally stands on the side of his grandson. He's been in the Marine for decades, knows more about the darkness of the world government than Luffy, and celestial dragons are mostly assholes. Yeah. Luffy nodded, and immediately said, Grandpa, I am planning to marry Big Mom. The wedding will be held in a month, and you new Marines should come to attend. You married Charlotte Linlin? Garp was stunned, and then blasted the phone bug with anger. Brat, what happened to that girl Nami? And what about the princess from Alabasta? Charlotte Linlin. This kind of granddaughter-in-law, Nishin will never admit it. Not to mention the age gap. With the appearance of Big Mom, what kind of strange child will be born? He even wondered if Luffy was under too much pressure to marry BG Mom in order to fight against the world government? Nami's funny voice came from the phone bug. Grandpa, it's not that Luffy is married to Big Mom, it's the vice captain of a team under his command. She told about Luffy's scheme against Big Mom. Is that the case? Garp came back to his senses, and said with a smile, in this case, I understand, and I will definitely support you boy when the time comes. By the way, Grandpa, do you know Dad's contact information? Luffy asked back. The new Marine is here, and of course the Revolutionary Army can also come. He also took this opportunity to show the background of the Revolutionary Army. Having killed so many celestial dragons by himself, he should have a huge reputation within the Revolutionary Army. At this time, it was revealed that he was the prince of the Revolutionary Army. Sabo, you should be the 3rd in command. The water of the Revolutionary Army is too deep. You are still young, and you can't grasp it, so I, a young prince with a strong root, will have to do it. Garp does have dragon contacts. Facing Luffy's request, he informed without hesitation. After getting his cheap father's phone bug number, Luffy didn't call it immediately. Different from the familiar Garp, he has never met long, so it is not appropriate to call rashly. We have to wait for an opportunity. Of course, apart from the Revolutionary Army, the Red Hair Pirates and the Whitebeard Pirates had to contact each other. There is still a month before the wedding, so there is plenty of time. After a few days, Luffy diligently refreshes the adventure store every day. Without using customized refresh, after many days, I finally saw new fruit varieties again. Pocket fruit. After eating, the eater will master the ability to open a specific pocket space. The size of the space is a cube with a side length of 1 meter. Repeated consumption can increase the size of the space. The price is 5,000 adventure coins. No discount, 5,000 pieces. Although it is not the fruit that makes people smaller that I want, this thing seems to be very practical. Buy it on the spot. A crystal clear fruit appeared in the palm of his hand. After Luffy ate it, he immediately gained new power. As if it was born with it, he knew how to use it. The index finger lightly slid across the front, and the space seemed to be cut open with a crack. After groping around with his hand, Luffy confirmed that this small space does have a cubic meter. It's like a carry pocket that he can open wherever he goes. Immediately threw all hearts into it. Putting it in this kind of place, Big Mom will never get out of his control in this life. There are 11 hearts in total. 1 is from Big Mom, 6 are from Charlotte, and 4 are from CP9. He thoughtfully put a label on each heart and wrote his name. Of course, just in case, he put a label on Big Mom's heart with someone else's name on it. Although it is a bit redundant, it is just a casual thing. After finishing her work, Luffy got up and went to the music room. Uta is playing the piano, stopping every now and then to write and draw on a piece of paper. Luffy, almighty Luffy, give me some inspiration. Discovering Luffy's arrival, Uta immediately got up from the piano, grabbed Luffy's arm, and made a coquettish and cute request. Even if you say that, I have nothing to do with it. Luffy was helpless. He can't help with creating new songs. Hey. So boring, everyone is practicing, it's not interesting at all. Uta's red and white rabbit ears are like real rabbit ears, drooping down, and her little face is not energetic. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. By the way, Luffy, let's go on an adventure. It's so boring to stay on this island. Where do you want to go if you're adventurous? Luffy was about to go to Baitwan to send invitations, but when he heard what Uta said, he changed his mind immediately. Sending invitations is not as important as being with Uta. This is his little baby, like a nuclear bomb. Everywhere is fine, smart Captain Luffy, think about it. Then let's start at the entrance of New World. Luffy smiled and said, we came to find you as soon as we entered New World. Now we are back to the starting point and embarked on an adventurous journey again. How about it? Okay, let's go then, Uta said excitedly. She didn't want to stay in this crappy place for a second. There is no inspiration for writing songs, Nami and the others practice every day, isn't this different from the past? Or head out for an adventure. Go and inform the first team, as well as Nami and the others, to let everyone gather at the port. Yes, Uta ran out quickly. Luffy stood there in thought for a moment. He's on a trip to Punk Hazard. Suddenly remembered that place, there seems to be a man-made devil fruit. It is an artificial fruit made by Vegapunk, made by extracting Kaido's genes. Can transform into a dragon like Kaido. It's not that I'm greedy for the power of this fruit, but I just don't want to leave the good things to that stinky kid Momonosuke. When it comes to One Piece world, who is the person he hates, Momonosuke bears the brunt. After pondering for a while, Luffy prepared to dispatch the Merry and Sunny together. As for the second team, just stay on this island. Soon, his order was communicated. Knowing that he was going to leave the captain of the 4th Division, Luo rushed over immediately. The Straw Hats, I want to leave for a while to investigate something. Doflamingo. Yes, Luo nodded. I won't be impulsive. Behind this guy is Kaido, who has arms trade with Kaido. It's another matter to investigate. There's nothing Luffy can do about it. You are free to do whatever you want without my orders. Thanks. Luo smiled and left immediately. Later, Gecko Moria also found him. Straw Hat, I need some zombies. There are no pirates in this place, I'm going to hunt some shadows and corpses. Whatever you want, just don't get caught by Marine. There are not many Marine bases in New World, and there are only a few well-known ones. Compared with the hundreds of Marine bases in Paradise Sea and Four Seas, they are nothing. Port of Elegia. Law's polar diving is gone, and so is Moria's terror. Jinbei was also sent by Luffy to find the historical text, and he will not come back until the wedding day. At this time, there were only 3 ships parked in the port. Sunny, Merry, and Ark Proverb. Nami and the others are already on board. Uta excitedly shouted to Luffy on the shore. Come on, Luffy, Luffy said to Gordon and Bartolomeo. I'll leave it to you guys here, we'll be away for a while. If there's anything important, please contact me with the phone bug. Don't worry, Lord Luffy, please leave it to me. Bartolomeo patted his chest and said. Gordon nodded and said, Uta is on your leave, please take care of her, Straw Hat Luffy. Bye-bye. Luffy waved his hands and jumped onto the boat. Soon, the Sunny and the Merry sailed out of the port. They traveled through a space-time tunnel and returned to the sea area at the entrance of New World more than 20 days ago in the blink of an eye. Sunny, on deck. Nami looked at the record pointer in his hand. It's over, Luffy. We stayed in Elegia for too long, the magnetic force of the pointer is completely covered. The islands pointed to by the 3 pointers are no longer the original 3 islands. Luffy laughed. We're not going to those 3 islands, but a ghost island. Ghost Island? Vivi opened her eyes wide. Kaya said in fear, Ghost Island? Is it like the place in the Devil's Triangle before? It's not that kind of gloomy place, it's an island without magnetism. As they spoke, the Sunny and the Merry had already floated up from the sea and into the mid-air. It's probably around here, and you can always find it after a few laps. Uta cheered excitedly. Oh, let's go, Ghost Island. Robin was sitting on a chair beside him reading a book. At this moment he could not help but smile slightly and said, It's really full of energy, Uta. For the little singer of vitality, all the girls like it very much. Hey, then I'll sing a song for everyone. Uta cleared his throat, regardless of whether others wanted to hear it or not, he just spoke. Luffy sat on the figurehead of the Sunny, and shouted to the neighboring Mary. Usopp, don't you have a wide range of information? Pay more attention to the sea. Got it. Luffy, wrap it on me. Even if you know the approximate area, even with the help of Lion Fruit's ability, you can search the sea surface from the air. It was already night when we actually found an island. Luffy, I saw the island, I wonder if it's the punk hazard you're looking for, Usopp shouted. Luffy immediately controlled the two ships to lower their altitude. Today's punk hazard is not a water and fire zone. But it is still snowing on the island. When the Sunny entered the snowstorm, the range of visibility suddenly shrank a lot. Suddenly, the screams of Chopper and Usopp came from the Mary. Ah, Snow Girl, Yukai, Snow Maiden. Monster, Chopper hugged Usopp, screaming and looking at the shadows that flashed by in the blizzard. Snow Maiden? Monster? Seeing the pale faces of the two, Frankie and Sanji looked over together. Observation haki spread outward, and no special breath was found. Is the Yuki Onna that kind of Yuki Onna? Sanji's lustful soul twitched. Where is it? Frankie stared at the blizzard, and said, it's night again, and there's such a heavy blizzard, I can't see clearly at all, did you misread it? Chopper hurriedly said, it's true, grass-green hair, a woman. Usopp nodded furiously. Yes, she even smiled at us. At night, during a blizzard, a woman in heavy snow has no footprints yet. She is definitely a snow girl. It was very close to our ship just now. Woman. Sanji's eyes froze, and he spread observation haki towards the surrounding area again. It's a pity that the blizzard was too big, and his knowledge could not be heard very far. There was indeed a woman's breath just now, but it has gone far. Zoro held his 4 favorite knives, leaned against the mast, opened his eyes when he heard the noise of the crowd, and shouted to Sunny. Luffy, do you want to bring him back? Let her go. Luffy probably knew who it was. As soon as their boat landed on the island from midair, there was heavy snow on the island, and it was still a blizzard. Obviously man-made. Is there really a snow girl? Uta's big eyes sparkled. It's just a capable person, not the snow girl you imagined. Luffy smiled, the little singer's curiosity is really strong. Uta immediately released the color of knowledge, and she easily caught the breath that Sanji couldn't catch. In that direction, Luffy, let's catch up and have a look. I'm chasing. Luffy spotted each other early on. He also manipulated the two ships to pursue them at the first time, and the speed was neither fast nor slow, just following behind the opponent's buttocks. That woman will lead him to his destination. Not long after, Luffy and his party left the snowstorm area. Under the moonlight, what caught everyone's eyes was the ruin-like land. There are many collapsed buildings, and some places are still on fire. No, to be precise, there is a dragon hovering in the sky, opening its mouth to spew out a flame from time to time. Many people looked up in surprise. Different from Kaido's blue dragon form, the dragon hovering above everyone's heads is fiery red and has the shape of a western dragon, and it is ugly and not haughty at all. With a fat body, a funny head, and a pair of small wings on the back, it is doubtful whether they have the ability to fly. Dragon creatures really exist. Robin was stunned. Luffy. Dragon. Uta excitedly pointed to the sky. Catch it, keeping a dragon as a pet will be fun. It's so ugly. Luffy cursed from the bottom of his heart. Then, everyone saw that the dragon in the sky locked its eyes on the two ships and opened its mouth to spit out a dragon's breath. A pillar of fire fell from the sky. Ice rain. Vivi stood up immediately, she raised her right hand, and a jet of water-cooled water immediately shot out from her palm. The power of water and fire collided in the air, instantly arousing thick steam. Aboard the Mary. Sanji's eyes spewed fire, and he jumped up, stepping up into the air. Are you bastard trying to burn us to death? Cheek shoot? Boom. He kicked the dragon on the head and knocked him down from the sky. However, the dragon's wings trembled, and soon flapped to stabilize its figure. He opened his bloody mouth and bit down toward Sanji. Not at all, lecherous chef. Zoro grinned, got up and drew a knife, and leapt up. You are a dragon, and Mai is also a dragon. He held the handle of the knife backwards, and put on a posture, as if a dragon-shaped phantom was faintly born behind him. One sword-style black dragon flame. The blade was wrapped around armament Haki, and under the night, the flame dragon suddenly paused as it stretched its neck and bite. Next moment, the dragon head is separated. Ah, Uda let out a sad cry, my pet. Luffy laughed and said, roast it and eat it, although it can't be raised, dragon meat should be good. The other side. Build a bonfire at the Straw Hat crew while grilling dragon meat. The woman who created the blizzard before came to the door of a huge research institute. She has grass-green wavy long hair, golden yellow pupils, and her left eye is covered by bangs from time to time. While opening a small door next to the gate of the institute, he took out a pair of thick-bottomed milk bottle glasses and put them on. Her name is Monet. After entering the institute, she soon came to a room full of experimental equipment. In the room, a cloud of gas condenses, constantly changing its shape. As if discovering the person behind him, Gas turned around, opening and closing his mouth to spit out words. What's the matter? Monet. 4 Emperor's Straw Hat Luffy has suddenly landed on this island. Monet sighed and said, things have become troublesome. I don't know what their purpose is, and they came up from the sky, and the surveillance equipment outside the island didn't find it at all. If I didn't happen to be nearby, I'm afraid those people would have found it. Here it is. To stop or delay, she creates a blizzard. What? Gas was so startled that his eyes fell out. The next moment, the mass of gas quickly turned into a man. The man has black pointed long hair, with horns on his head, wears purple lipstick, and wears eye makeup. Flat nose, slender eyebrows. Claiming to be a genius scientist, but actually a mad scientist, Guy saw current. He was terrified by the sudden news, sloppy Straw Hat Luffy. Yeah, there's no need to be so afraid, right? Monet pushed his glasses. Maybe they lost their way to this island, their boat can fly. Lion Fruit's ability user found this non-magnetic island in the air, come up and take a look if you are curious. You don't understand at all. Guy was dripping with cold sweat on his forehead, his mood was extremely unstable, and he felt overwhelmed. Monet looked at him suspiciously. Kaido gritted his teeth and said, I've paid attention to this man for a long time. He ran all the way from East Blue to New World, and I know exactly what he did. Paused, fluttering back and forth in the room uneasily. That man is more marine than marine. If he knows that I used those children as laboratories on the island, he will definitely be killed. Just like those 2 idiot colonels in East Blue. Damn it, I have to think of a way. By the way, Monet, contact Doflamingo quickly. If I die, his business will be ruined. So flustered that the voice became shrill. He. The name of a person, the shadow of a tree. Monet was very amused by this. Without knowing the purpose of Straw Hat Luffy's landing on this island, he judged that he might be killed just from the other party's past actions. What is this indicating? Explanation Guy Saw knows that what he does is not a good thing. But having said that, Luffy, who is obviously the pirate's Straw Hat, has indeed done a lot of things in the past that are even more marine than marine. What's so funny? Hurry up and contact your owner. Kaido gritted his teeth, suddenly remembered something, and calmed down a bit. By the way, I cheated Big Mom of a lot of research funding. If you kill me, the research funding will be in vain. Straw Hat Luffy probably doesn't want to provoke that woman. From panic to unwillingness to accept reality, to the stage of self-hypnosis. Then, he muttered to himself again, just hide, I will come back when they leave me. After speaking, I really ran away. Logia Gas Fruit ability user. Guy, who turned into a cloud of gas, got out through the crack of the gate and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Monet didn't know what to say for a while, so he was very speechless. I had to take out a phone bug and dial a number. What Guy is worried about may not necessarily happen, but if it happens, it will be troublesome. Monet? After Nianbo was connected, Doflamingo's deep voice rang through the phone. My lord, Straw Hat Luffy has landed on this island. Monet briefly explained the matter, including the fact that Guy was about to run away. Fufurfurfurfur. Is indeed something that man would do. Doflamingo couldn't help but chuckled. Guy's concern is correct. What should we do, young master? It's useless to hide. Haki, who wears a straw hat, only wants to find you if he wants to. As long as you are still on that island, you can't hide. Doflamingo's tone became serious. Think of a way to delay the time, I'll come here now. Yes, young master. Monet nodded, but how to extend it? She couldn't stop them for long with a blizzard, and although she led them to the big stupid dragon, created by Vegapunk, the dragon couldn't hold off for more than a few minutes. No, maybe a few seconds. It's the four emperors after all. Dressrosa, the royal palace. Doflamingo opened the window, and the night wind blew in suddenly, making the curtains dance. Straw hats. How did they appear in Punk Hazard? Is it because of sad? Although it was easy to say on the phone, I rushed over immediately. But there's nothing you can do if you rush over. If it's for man-made devil fruit, Doflamingo picked up a bottle of red wine and drained the bottle in one gulp. The buyer of the artificial devil fruit is the four emperors Kaido. If the straw hats are also eyeing this, then he's in trouble. Sandwiched between two four emperors, there is no such delicious option as sell to both sides. Because production is limited, when the gods fight, he might be beaten to death. Fufurofurfur. Hope, it won't turn out like this. Doflamingo laughed dryly and flew out of the palace. He jumps in the air. As an ability user of string fruit, he can hang thin threads invisible to the naked eye above the clouds, so as to achieve the purpose of moving in the air through the clouds. At this time, head towards Punk Hazard, and you will be able to reach the sky in just over half an hour. Punk Hazard, Dragon Zone. The fire dragon has turned into a corpse. Under Sanji's extraordinary cooking skills, it was transformed into delicious grilled dragon meat, which filled Straw Hat Crew's stomach. Robin eats very little, supposedly to keep fit. She walked to a ruin, lifted a piece of rubble with her hands, and touched many debris. Luffy, there's something wrong with this place. Judging by the damage to the ruins, it's probably the result of a huge explosion, and it didn't take long. Are you an archaeologist or a detective girl? Luffy complained from the bottom of his heart. This is the research base of the government. 2 years ago, there was a huge explosion accident, which was the kind of big explosion that could produce a mushroom cloud. Luffy explained. Explosion? No wonder it was so badly damaged. This area, is it a town? Sanji handed a piece of grilled meat to Luffy. What's the matter with this dragon? Is there really such a dragon creature in this world? Nuoqigao said incredulously. Could it be that Zone's awakened ability user is actually eating people? As soon as these words came out, everyone froze in place. Everyone around the bonfire covered their mouths. Ha 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 ha, it's an artificial creature. Made by Vegapunk, it's used to protect the island's guards. Luffy munched on the dragon meat. Have to say, there's something about Vegapunk, and these dragon meats taste really good. It's not just Sanji's culinary blessings, but the pure ingredients themselves are particularly excellent. I see. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief and continued to eat. Uda couldn't eat a few bites, so he gave the meat to Luffy, got up and said. Still caring about that snow girl. Luffy, let's go, she's gone a long way. Hearing this, Luffy swept away the large piece of dragon meat on the barbecue grill. With a thump, swallow. Then he got up and smiled and said, eat slowly, come back after eating, UTA and I will go first. After finishing speaking, he took UTA to chase Monet. Watching them go away, everyone in the straw hats by the campfire stared blankly at the barbecue grill. Hey! What do you mean you eat slowly? You've finished eating? Sanji's fist hardened. Soon after, Luffy and UTA came to the gate of the institute. Bang bang bang. Uta knocked on the door and shouted, Hi, is there anyone? I'm UTA, please open the door. In the corner above the gate, only the monitoring phone bug slowly aimed its sight at UTA. Seemingly aware of its existence, UTA also made a yes gesture to the camera. Sure enough, someone is there, open the door quickly, open the door quickly. She clapped again. Luffy had no choice but to step forward, grabbed her hand, and said helplessly, if you take pictures tomorrow, no one will answer the door. Why? Uta was puzzled. Because they're running away. Can't you use more information? Luffy patted the little diva on the head, and flicked it with her fingers. Boom. In an instant, the huge iron gate was shattered by the force of the vibration. Let's go. Uta stroked his hair and hurriedly followed. As soon as he entered the research institute, walking in the long dark corridor, suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. Monet knelt down on his knees, in a standard Tianxia posture. I'm really sorry, I made the blizzard just now, and it caused you a little trouble. Snow girl. Uta's eyes lit up. Monet didn't look up. Luffy's mind reading is applied to the opponent. The young master asked me to delay time, how should I delay it? If you kneel here for half an hour, you can hold the straw hat Luffy. Guy pissed off that idiot, he doesn't know where he went. If you tell Guy, hide in the escape route, you can go straight to the coast. Luffy answered her doubts. Scared? Monet's delicate body shook. Impossible. He can still know what I'm thinking? Can. Monet. Hate. What kind of terrible ability is this? Is this also 4 emperors? Monet was numb. Mind reading? It's not like she hasn't seen a similar ability. In the Don Quixote family, there is a woman who can do similar things, that is Paramecia gazing fruit ability, who can spy on the hearts of others. You have the 4th devil fruit ability? Monet raised his head and said in shock. For this misunderstanding, Luffy did not explain, but asked. You were just trying to stall for time, is Doflamingo coming? Yes, the young master will come to this island soon. Monet didn't dare to hide it, and it was meaningless to hide it. The moment she heard this question, she had already told the other party the answer in her heart. Why is there such a shameless ability? In front of this man, all lies are meaningless. Uta on the side was also surprised. In other words, Luffy knows what he usually thinks in his heart. His face suddenly turned red. I hate it. This ability is not allowed to be used casually. Luffy couldn't help laughing. He really knew what the little songstress thought about every day. Lord Luffy, what is the purpose of coming to this island? Monet asked in a respectful tone, controlling his heart not to think about the deal. Their Don Quixote family deal with mad scientist Guy saw current. Guy is responsible for the manufacture of a raw material called sad. After it is produced on this island, it is transported to the factory in Dressrosa to become an artificial devil. This deal has been going on for a year. But people are often like this, the more they want to hide things, the more they will think uncontrollably in their hearts. So, it was completely read by Luffy. Of course, there is no need to read it, he already knows this. I have no interest in sad. The zone man-made devil fruit technology that Guy sprinkles is just rubbish. Luffy shrugs it off. Doflamingo sells the smile fruit to Kaido, and the success rate is only 10%. Moreover, the obtained zone ability also has a lot of flaws. Once you don't win the lottery, becoming the poor 90% will become a gold-winning fighter who laughs. This is also the origin of the name Smile. Monet was speechless, and was finally seen through. Now that the secret has been exposed, why don't you just lay it out and ask in a broken jar? Then what is your purpose in coming here? Wouldn't it be lost? There is a man-made devil fruit made by Vegapunk on this island. Where is it? Luffy asked directly. Devil fruit made by Vegapunk, is there such a thing? By the way, that place was placed in the exhibition cabinet on the side of the research room by Guy. Monet's brain was uncontrollably thinking about these questions. Then it was immediately read by Luffy. Take me to the display case, you just forget about the blizzard before. After giving an order, Luffy ignored her and took UTA deep into the research institute. There were originally 3 institutes like this, but 2 were destroyed in the big explosion 2 years ago, and only 1 here remained. The cause of the explosion was Geisa current. This mad scientist developed a powerful weapon. When he wanted to experiment, he was stopped by the government because it would hurt innocent people. But Guy refused. The unbearable Vegapunk ordered him to be arrested, and finally Geisa detonated the weapon. After the detonation, the huge heat and toxic substances produced completely destroyed the island. Geisa was also arrested by the government because of this, and then escaped, and was offered a reward of billions of dollars. A year ago, Guy came back here to clean up the poisonous gas on the island. At the same time, he cooperated with Doflamingo and started to help the other party produce sad. I'll take you there back quote. Faced with Luffy's request, Mana dared not refuse. Soon, the 3 of them came to a research room, where a devil fruit stored in a glass display case was lying quietly in it. There is a clear difference from the real devil fruit. Its surface is not a spiral pattern, but a circle. Is this the one? Luffy tapped the glass cabinet lightly with her nails, shattering the glass outside, then reached out to take out the fruit. Monet never paid much attention to the existence of this thing, thinking it was the creation of Geisa current. I'm not sure if it's what you said. Guy always said it was a failure, but it's clearly a failure, but it's kept in this kind of place. Monet pursed his lips, thinking secretly, 4 emperors came here specially for it, is there anything special about it? No, I can't listen. Once thought about, readable. Empty your mind, Monet, you are now a robot without emotion. Monet for himself hypnosis. Uta leaned closer to his face, staring curiously at the fruit in Luffy's hand. Is this thing important? Is it delicious? It's a phantom beast fruit? Vegapunk thinks it's a failure, because the copied form has the wrong color. Luffy laughed. Kaido is a green dragon, and after eating this fruit, it becomes a pink dragon. There is no big difference in other respects. Compared with the smile fruit produced by Guy Saw, it is simply successful and cannot be more successful. Phantom beast? Isn't that amazing? Uda said in surprise. Monet's delicate body shook. Phantasmal beasts. Luffy wondered, who should I feed it to? Of course he didn't like it himself. I came here to recycle this thing on purpose, simply because I didn't want Momonosuke to eat it. Among the current main members of the Straw Hats, there are too many capable people. Only Kaya, Nuoqigao, Zoro, Usopp, Johnny, Joseph, Sanji, Frankie, these few people are not capable. The underground safety passage of the Research Institute. This is a tunnel that leads directly to the port. Gaisa Current fled frantically with a group of subordinates, and finally came to the exit. Hold up the anchor quickly, and get out of here now, immediately, immediately. Guy came to the ship immediately. This ship was originally a government ship with the world government logo on it. It was damaged in the explosion 2 years ago, but now he has repaired it. Hey heck. Hurry up, do you want to be chased by the Straw Hats? Under the urging of Gaisa, the boat quickly left the coast. It wasn't until several kilometers away from the island that Guy finally breathed a sigh of relief. HMPH, I won't be killed in a place like this. At the same time, about a few kilometers away from the government ship he was on, a marine warship was heading in the direction of Punk Hazard. The sailors in charge of the watch spotted Guy's ship immediately, and immediately reported. Virgo Vice Admiral, a government ship is spotted ahead. Government ship. The man named Virgo is tall, tough, muscular, wearing a white plaid coat and wearing sunglasses on his face. Why is the government ship here? In the government's information, this island should have been marked as a land of disillusionment filled with national spirit. Thinking of this, he looked back at the man lying on the beach chair on the deck. Marine Admiral, Aokiji. Alala. A government ship. Aokiji raised his eyebrows unexpectedly. Virgo picked up the binoculars and took a look. On the ship in the distance, he saw Guy Saw Current, and his expression changed slightly. He quickly hid his expression, turned around and said, Aokiji Admiral, it should be the government's actions in the nearby waters. My task is to escort you into the Punk Hazard. Rushing over it may cause a meeting. It's better for you to go and have a look. As for me, I go by myself, it's very close. Aokiji got up from the chair, rode on the bicycle beside him, and rode off the warship at once. Before the wheels touch the water, the sea freezes. Ha. Don't worry about me, I failed the mission, and now I have only this way to go. After waving to the people on the warship, Aokiji left on his bicycle. Arresting Blackbeard and the escaped prisoners was his previous mission. But obviously, he underestimated that group of people. Not only was he run away by Blackbeard, but he was also slapped. Dark Fruit's abilities are a bit tricky indeed. I was slightly injured when fighting those people, and the mission failed in the end. At this time, a direct order from the world government was received. Sengoku resigned from the position of marshal, and next, he will compete with Akainu for that position, and the winner will be promoted to Yuenshi. To be honest, Aokiji didn't have much interest in that position. It's just that many vice admirals in the headquarters, including Marshal Sengoku, have recommended him, and he has to respond to those expectations. Mr. Garp has left Marine. If I lose, I will leave as well. The premise is to survive. Soon, he rode his bicycle to the island, and after releasing his knowledge, he felt a lot of breath. Strange. Who are those people? And they have such a strong breath. Aokiji was startled. Immediately rode a car and rushed over there. When he found those people, his expression became a lot more dignified. Straw Hat Crew. In Nico Robin. Seeing the appearance of Marine Admiral, everyone in the Straw Hats was shocked. Blue. Pheasant. Robin's complexion changed slightly. Why are you on this island? Aokiji scratched his head, carefully observing the group of pirates. It seems that the Straw Hats are not there? Zoro stood up immediately, stood in front of everyone, and said solemnly. I stopped him. You guys go meet Luffy. What are you talking about? Chlorella ahead, do you still want to deal with Daejong alone? Sanji walked up to Zoro, lit a cigarette and said. Zoro stares at Aokiji. Hurry up. This is the captain's order. Sanji's face turned ugly immediately. How dare a mere green algae say anything about the captain's order? Then I'm counting on you, Zoro. Nami said calmly. Let's meet Luffy first, Sanji, you can follow. Hearing this, Sanji took a deep look at Chlorella, and could only turn around and leave with the crowd. For the first time, he felt that his strength was insufficient. Obviously when he was in East Blue, he and Chlorella were still on equal terms. But in a blink of an eye, the gap has become so big that they don't even have the qualifications to fight against the enemy together. I can't help recalling Zoro's daily life in my mind. Practice, practice, practice. What is he doing in comparison? Ah la la. Although it wasn't my intention, since we met, I can't go back empty-handed like this. Aokiji exhaled cold air, and the ground under his feet froze rapidly, and quickly spread towards the fleeing Straw Hat crew. If Straw Hat Luffy is here, he'll walk away without saying a word. Since you're not here, let's give this group of people a try. Whoosh! Suddenly, a slash tore the ground apart. The conquerors around Zoro were bursting out, unreservedly released towards Aokiji. Want to chase my companions and step over my dead body, Marine Admiral? Zoro drew 3 knives, hockey at conquerors. Aokiji was stunned for a moment, and stared blankly at LV Zauto. It's scary to have a master like you under the straw hat. If you leave now, I have no objection. Zoro pointed his sword at Aokiji, his face was firm, and he didn't waver in the face of Admiral. In this regard, Aokiji touched his head again and couldn't help laughing. Good momentum. But, you don't think that you can really beat me, do you? How do you know if you haven't played? Zoro stopped talking nonsense, and rushed towards the opponent with a knife. The other side. Off the island of Punk Hazard, another Marine Admiral, also set foot on this land. Akainu Admiral, we will wait for the result at sea. Vice Admiral, the ghost spider responsible for escorting Akainu, said in a deep voice. He saluted Akainu. I wish you good luck. As a Hawk Vice Admiral, he naturally supports Akainu, but unfortunately, there are more people supporting Aokiji in the headquarters. Otherwise, there is no need to make a break in this way. Akainu left without looking back, with a cold tone. Stay farther away, at least 10 kilometers away. The old man is afraid that you will be involved. Institute, a living room. Luffy sat on the sofa with his legs crossed, and the whole island was filled with knowledge and knowledge. Isn't this a coincidence? Akainu and Aokiji came here to compete for the marshal position? What does this mean? It means that the world government has found a new candidate for admiral. Green Bull, Fujitora, or promote admiral as a candidate. Momoshage, T-Dolphin. Thinking of this, Luffy couldn't help feeling that Marine is really full of talents. 2 Go, Garp and Zephyr, retired a Sengoku. Possibly to fight to the death of an Akainu or Aokiji. In this case, replenishing Admiral's combat power can still be so fast. That is to say, the world government doesn't want to wipe out the 4 emperors casually, otherwise, if it really wants to kill them regardless of sacrifice, the 4 emperors pirate group alone has no qualifications to contend. Maybe it's raising the bandits' self-respect? Luffy, did you hear anything? Uda frowned slightly, listened for a moment, and said, it sounds like a child's voice. Luffy came back to his senses, nodded and said, they are all children who were tricked by Guy. As he spoke, he looked at Mo Chen who was at the side. Monet's heart skipped a beat. Guy Sarah can't die. Wrong. An illusion, right? Cold sweat dripped from her forehead. Hehe, as far as I know, Guy is mainly conducting 3 kinds of research on this island. First, help Doflamingo research and produce SAD, as the raw material for Zone's artificial devil fruit. Second, help 4 emperors' Big Mom study the gigantic human beings. Third, privately develop and perfect their own poison gas weapons, which is the weapon that triggered the Punk Hazard explosion 2 years ago. Take us to the room where the little ones are kept. Yes. Monet bit his head and led the way, and didn't think much about it. Mind reading is so stupid. Why doesn't Marine care? Uda asked strangely after Monet left the living room of the Institute. Because the nearby Marine G5 branch, Vice Admiral Virgo is a member of our Don Quixote family. Monet subconsciously thought so, his face turned pale and he wanted to strangle himself to death. Luffy shook his head. There is a Vice Admiral named Virgo, who was Doflamingo's undercover agent in Marine, and he helped Guy to hide it. This person is so hateful. Uda was a little annoyed. Under the leadership of Monet, the two soon came to the biscuit room where the children were held. Because of Guy's human experiments, these children cheated from the nearby islands have become very tall now. They were playing in their room, and when they saw Monet bringing Luffy and UTA in, they immediately surrounded them. Candy, I want candy. Where's today's candy? They surrounded Monet, and their emotions gradually became excited. A child begging for candy is a harmonious and loving picture, but UTA, who knows the truth, is so angry that he wants to hit someone. Guy saw Current, and that Shicibukai Doflamingo, and Marine Vice Admiral Virgo. What a bunch of assholes. Monet comforted the children. There is no candy today, please sit down obediently. We want candy. Number 777 saw candy, and some of the children gradually became irritable. Uda hurriedly said, "Children, candy is poison, you can't continue to eat it." "I want candy." One of the tallest little boys, completely out of control, threw his fists at UTA in turn. Luffy raised his hand to block it, and said, "Withdrawal reaction. Uda, send them to the world of songs." Hearing this, UTA nodded immediately, smiled at the children and said, "I hid the candy, children, listen to my sister singing a song first, only those who listen carefully will have candies." When the singing sounded, everyone fell silent immediately. The children fell to the ground one by one and fell asleep peacefully. Monet was slightly taken aback. What ability is this? She felt uneasy, and hurriedly explained, "The child's matter has nothing to do with us, it is the deal between Geisa and Big Mom. We are loyal to help conceal the child's disappearance. When it comes to the back, I am a little unconfident." Uda glared at her. "Why has nothing to do with you? Your Don Quixote family is an accomplice." Plop. Monet knelt down on the spot, a standard soil seat. "If you are angry about this matter, you will use my life." "How much is your life worth?" Luffy smiled. He is not an envoy of justice, he must uphold justice, it just happens at the right time. "Now that we have met, let's save these children by the way." Monet was pale and troubled by this. "Don't talk about delaying time now. Maybe when the young master comes to the island, he will be killed by the Straw Hat crew immediately." "How should I do it?" "Study all the detonators that Guy scatter. If you use that, can you kill Luffy with the Straw Hat?" "No, when I thought of this, my thoughts have already been read." Monet despaired. What to do? What to do? What to do? What can be done to appease the wrath of one of the four emperors? Really, it's Guy's fault. They are only helping to conceal the disappearance of their children, and they are not interested in the giantization of human beings, which is the research funding provided by Big Mom. Luffy didn't pay attention to her, and she sensed Nami's aura, and they were already outside the institute. A big war is about to break out on this island. UTA, you control these children and come with me. And you, Snow Maiden. People who are dragged into the world of songs will also be controlled by UTA in the real world. The intensity of this kind of control is not high. If the number of people is very large, it is about the same as sleepwalking. Soon, the three of them brought a group of children to the outside of the institute. Luffy. Nami hurried over and said quickly, "Zoro stopped Aokiji. I don't know why Admiral ran to this island." Then, he looked at the children behind him. Those children are like zombies, with white eyes, standing together in a daze. "I know, ready to go. This island will soon become a battlefield for Aokiji and Akainu." Saying so, Luffy looked at Sanji, and said with a smile. Feeling lack of strength. Luffy. Sanji was indeed a little irritable, he couldn't help himself, so he had to let Zoro face Admiral alone, which was a big blow to him. Last time, before heading to Sky Island, it was Luffy who fought off Aokiji himself. And this time, Aokiji appeared again, and it was Zoro who stood up. Sanji secretly made up his mind to practice hard in the future and find a way to become strong enough. If there is another time, at that time, he will kick Zoro flying, and he will block the next admiral. Suddenly, a fruit was thrown towards him. This is a replica of the Four Emperors Kaido's devil fruit, which turns into a pink dragon when eaten. Sanji caught the fruit with a dull expression. Luffy said, "Eat it or not, it's up to you. If you don't eat it, give it to others." After careful consideration, he chose Sanji. Sanji is a genetically modified person, and he is not a failure, as his father Ji thought. In contrast, Sanji retains human emotion and is a true masterpiece of German technology. It's just not awakened yet. Once awakened, coupled with the power of the green dragon fruit, the combat effectiveness will be greatly improved. Sanji looked at the man-made devil fruit in his hand, and sighed. Luffy, I read the illustrated book when I was a child. If one day I want to eat devil fruit, it must be a transparent fruit. The transparent fruit is his second dream, because I can spy on the women's bathhouse. But that dream is gone, that bastard Absalom took it from me. Sanji bites towards the artificial fruit, boom. The heart suddenly beat violently. Sanji's body became stiff, and the artificial fruit that had been bitten fell from his hand. Sanji. Chopper was startled. What's going on? Frankie was stunned. It's not poisonous, is it? Ah, Luffy, there's nothing wrong with this artificial fruit. Usopp opened his mouth wide. Are you alright, Sanji? Sanji knelt on the ground with a plop, pressing the ground with one hand and covering his chest with the other. His complexion was distorted, as if he was in great pain. Seeing this scene, Luffy also felt a little strange. Could there be a conflict between genetically modified humans and devil fruit? Thinking about it carefully, the princes and princesses of the Vinsmoke family are not ability users, but they have special abilities similar to ability users. If this special ability is regarded as some kind of fruit ability. So now Sanji is equivalent to eating 2 devil fruit? Explode to death? Maybe not to this extent, but it seems to be a bit of a conflict? Luffy thought about it, and he still has a self-healing fruit. Just about to take it out, suddenly, Sanji raised his head to the sky and roared loudly. Next moment, there was a change in his face. The nose and mouth protruded outwards, and pink dragon scales gradually appeared on the skin. Suddenly, Sanji's head completely turned into a dragon's head, his neck stretched towards the sky, and his body changed simultaneously. In a blink of an eye, the pink dragon appeared in the Air Force. Everyone in the Straw Hats looked up in stunned amazement. Fenlong is at least 500 meters long. At this time, he lowered the dragon's head and said, Luffy, I'm only a green algae head now. After speaking, he turned his head and flew in the direction he came from. Nami said with a delicate expression. Why did he turn into a dragon? His eyebrows are still curly. Luffy, is Kaido like this too? I really didn't pay attention to this, they have the characteristics of the clan. Luffy couldn't help laughing. Also, I always feel that after Sanji turns into a dragon, the dragon looks a bit wretched. Shaking his head, he turned to Chopper and said, Those children have been poisoned. Chopper, help them find out. Poisoned? Chopper was startled, and immediately went to see a doctor. Let's go. The boat is still on Zoro's side, hope the boat is okay. Luffy immediately slapped the ground. The next moment, a large platform was torn apart from the ground, and everyone was lifted up and headed towards Zoro. Straw Hat Crew's boat stop. No, it can't be called a docking point. The 2 ships are floating in a half-empty box after leaving the ground. At this time, near the campfire, Zoro holds 2 knives and still has one in his mouth. The breath exhaled from the mouth will soon condense in front of the eyes, turning into white mist. A little icing also appeared on the surface of the body. The surrounding temperature has dropped to tens of degrees below zero. And the source of this deep cold is standing more than 10 meters away in front of him. The corners of Aokiji's mouth raised slightly and said, Not bad Haki, but the sword skill is not exquisite enough, it is far behind Haki. He couldn't understand why this pirate hunter had such a powerful Haki. The bounty of 277 million is greatly underestimated, at least 1 billion level of combat power. Hearing his words, Zoro only felt noisy. Aren't you going to arrest us? Admiral? If that's the case, I can stop you. Ah lala, I didn't say I want to arrest you. It's just to pass the boring time while waiting for the opponent. Aokiji smiled. Without orders from above, he has no interest in fighting the 4 Emperor's pirates to the death. Tay. He suddenly raised his head, and in the night sky, a pink dragon quickly came towards him. Zoro also found an approaching aura, and this aura was still very familiar. That lecherous Kappa. Looking back at the sky abruptly, Zoro froze for a moment. Dragon? Unlike the fire dragon he hacked to death, the dragon flying in the distance had a long body. I'm here to help you, Chlorella, stay away. Sanji opened his dragon's mouth, and a hot flame condensed in his mouth. The next moment, the breath of the dragon, hot interest. Hello? Really? Kaido? Aokiji stared at the scene dumbfounded. The flames turned the night red, heat comes. Boom. In an instant, a huge explosion sounded, and a fireball was born on the ground, destroying everything within a radius of several hundred meters. After a long time, the aftermath of the explosion gradually subsided. Where Aokiji was standing, a huge pothole appeared. Suddenly, amidst the rubble, Zoro suddenly pushed away the stones on his body, raised his head and yelled angrily at Sanji. You want to kill me together, you bastard? Tisk, did you fail? Fenlong pouted in the sky. Oh, you really want to burn me to death together? Zoro clenched the knife in his hand, haki wrapped around him, his eyes glowed red like a monster. Put the Marine Admiral aside first, I'll chop it up today, kill you. Ice. Time. Suddenly, the rapidly spreading air conditioning interrupted the noisy two people. In an instant, Zoro turned into an ice sculpture, and at the same time, Sanji in the sky was gradually frozen. In an instant, the surroundings became a world of ice. Aokiji's figure slowly condensed, he raised his hand and touched bloodline on his forehead, and said lazily. I thought it was Kaido. It turns out it's just a counterfeit, don't scare people casually. The power of heat breath is not at the same level as Kaido. If it was Kaido, it was indeed a little dangerous just now. Aokiji looked at the pink dragon in the sky and said with a smile, Are you also a subordinate of the Straw Hat? As expected of the four Emperor's pirates, all the cadres under it are monsters. Sanji's expression was serious. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, a laugh sounded. A floating platform fell from the sky. In front of the platform, Luffy stood out of nowhere, looking down at Aokiji with his arms crossed. Long time no see, it's hard, said, then punched, bombarded above the atmosphere. Boom. Cracks spread like spider webs. In an instant, the frozen world was cracked inch by inch. Zoro, who was frozen into an ice sculpture, also recovered immediately. Sanji also used his own flame to disperse the surrounding air conditioning. 4 emperors, 1 powder dragon, 1 sword hero. All 3 locked eyes on Aokiji. Rao is Aokiji, who also feels Alexandra at this moment. He made a gesture and said with a dry smile, I said I was just passing by, can you believe it? 4 emperors Straw Hat. Don't be so nervous, just to say hello, Aokiji. Luffy grinned. Back then, when they were heading to Sky Island, they met Aokiji and they were the ones who ran. Things are different now, it's Aokiji who sees him running. Saying so, he used his index finger to swipe across the space beside him. Where the fingertip passed, the atmosphere tore a gap. Luffy took out an invitation letter from it, and threw over at Aokiji. When seeing this scene, Aokiji's expression was a bit shocked. Tier space? What kind of ability is this? How many devil fruit abilities does this kid have? With that in mind, Aokiji accepted the invitation letter dropped from the sky. Subconsciously glanced at it, and after a look, the whole person was stunned. You Straw Hat pirates are going to marry the Big Mom pirates. Here's to inviting him to the wedding. It's up to you whether you come or not, but remember to prepare gifts. I personally don't have any special preferences. If I give you 1 or 2 heads of celestial dragons, I will be satisfied. Luffy made a joke. Aokiji was not in the mood for a joke, on the contrary, this invitation made him feel very heavy. The wedding is just a formality, and it doesn't matter who the 2 people get married. The sensation that the alliance of the 2 4 emperors will cause is the suffocating place. If he wins against Akainu and becomes the Marine Marshal, he will have to face this kind of thing immediately. Just thinking about it gives me a headache. What's your purpose? What exactly are you trying to do? Aokiji couldn't help but look up. This is what I should ask you. What do you want to do? The corner of Luffy's mouth raised a slight arc, and he sensed that another admiral's breath was coming here. Immediately said to the crowd, Zoro, get on the boat, it's time to go to the next island. Hearing this, Zoro immediately put away his weapon, turned around and ran to the distance, and boarded the deck of the Mary. Afterwards, the 2 ships slowly floated into the air. Wait, Straw Hat Luffy. Aokiji shouted to the people who were about to leave in the sky. Nico Robin, I met a good companion this time. Robin had just stepped onto the deck of the Sunny, and when he heard this, he looked back at Aokiji below. 20 years ago, my friend Saul asked me to let you go before he died, and I just followed his last wish. Aokiji said calmly. Saul. Robin recalls the giant vice admiral from his childhood. For the past 20 years, I have continued to pay attention to your news, thinking about whether the behavior at that time was right or wrong. Aokiji smiled slightly. From now on, I will always watch you, live on, Ohara. Not perish yet. The words are quite meaningful. Luffy chuckled and said, let's go, bye. 2 airships carried the Straw Hat crew away, followed by a floating platform full of unconscious children. Luffy, what did the pheasant mean? Robin asked softly. From his standpoint, it is already the limit to be able to say this. In human terms, Saul Vice Admiral is not dead, and Ohara's many books are still preserved. At the same time, I hope you will not be burdened with a heavy past in the future. Be well. Live on. After 20 years of observation, Aokiji has confirmed that what he did was right. It is an order from above to eliminate the scholars of Ohara on the grounds that they violated the laws of the world government. Letting go of a child as young as 8 years old is a human conscience. Hearing this, Robin stood there blankly. Go away? Looking at the Straw Hat crew who disappeared into the night, Aokiji slowly looked away. He took a deep breath and turned around slowly. The man who came from the darkness had a gloomy expression. What did you mean, Aokiji? It doesn't matter, Sakazuki. Under Aokiji's feet, the ground was icy, and the endless cold air stretched toward Akainu. This is the awakening technique. Permanently change the surrounding climate. The cold wind is raging, and the cold air is pervasive, but when this coldness gets close to Akainu, it is immediately dissipated by the hot magma. This is very important. Akainu's hands turned into magma, and his tone was cold. If you want to know, I can tell you if you win. Aokiji smiled. The power of frozen fruit erupted at full strength, and the cold air almost materialized, forming a field similar to when conquerors erupted. Almost at the same time, Akainu's lava fruit is also fully activated. The ground under his feet turned into a sea of magma, surging towards where Aokiji stood. Akainu with the hottest power has the coldest heart buried in his chest. Aokiji has the coldest power, but treats everything with gentleness. 2 marine admirals with diametrically opposite powers, a life and death battle broke out that night. Boom. When leaving Punk Hazard, Luffy looked back at the island, and the fire was burning like daylight. Luffy, what's next? Uda stood on the edge of the boat, looked at Chopper who was treating the children on the floating platform, and shouted, Chopper, how are you? No, these children are deeply poisoned. Who did it? It's too cruel. Chopper felt the same way, and the more he was treated, the angrier he became. Monet was dripping with cold sweat. I hope it can be cured, otherwise, judging by the atmosphere, Gaisako will be finished. When Gai is done laying eggs, they will have no raw materials to make artificial devil fruit, and Kaido will be angered without artificial devil fruit. 4 Emperors Straw Hat on one side and 4 Emperors Kailau on the other. Gai saw current. Where did this hateful scientist go? Uda stared at Monet and asked. I don't know either. Luffy? Uda couldn't help but look at the almighty Luffy. Don't worry, I won't run far. Luffy smiled, and immediately controlled the boat to pursue the escaped Gai Sakurong. Ha 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 ha. That's the way it is, anyhow, I want to get out of here immediately. On the sea, a marine warship and a government ship are in contact with each other. Virgo boarded the government's boat and couldn't help frowning when he heard Gai say this. 4 Emperors Straw Hats. What a nosy guy. Behind him, the sailors of the G5 branch, Ten Shen, watched this scene dumbfounded. They swallowed. He looked at Virgo Vice Admiral in disbelief. Vice Admiral. Didn't you say that those were shipwrecks? What happened to the child abduction incident? Now that I've heard it, there's nothing I can do about it. Shave. Virgo disappeared in the same place all of a sudden, and in a flash, he came in front of a captain. 10 fingers suddenly pointed out. Finger pistol. The captain who was attacked was shocked. Suddenly, a look of royalty descended from the sky. The seemingly materialized haki completely enveloped Virgo's head, forcing him to stop his fingers in front of the captain's Adam's apple. Virgo looked up sharply. Straw Hat. 2 flying pirate ships hover above the warship. Many crew members of the Straw Hat Pirates are looking at themselves. Cold sweat dripped down Virgo's forehead. It's a monster. Haki with this level of consciousness. Virgo staggered a step, holding his forehead, feeling the weight of his consciousness. This haki was totally directed at him and didn't affect anyone else. There seemed to be black and red tentacle lightning in the field of vision, which seemed to be pinching his neck and suffocating him. Yaw. Guy also found Luffy in the Straw Hat, and was so scared that he snotted his nose and sat down on the ground. There was a piercing scream. Luffy slowly descended from the air and landed lightly on the deck. Looking down at Guy, he said, those children who were deceived by you, you find a way to solve the poison in their bodies. If you can't solve it, go to death. I know, don't kill me, Straw Hat Luffy. Guy was so frightened that he could speak incoherently. Fix those poisons, will you let me go? I don't want to carry out such an experiment. This is all the request of Big Mom, I was just forced by her. Guy made amends for his actions, trying to embolden himself by bringing out another 4 emperors. Luffy laughed. You better hope you figure it out. It is impossible to let go. Although the Logia gas fruit ability user is called the shame of Logia, it is the user's own problem, not the fruit's fault. For this kind of fruit, of course, it must be recycled. Not just Logia. After he completes the Grand Line, and the adventure store is completely free, he will recycle all the fruits on the devil fruit icon. This thing is like the guns and ammunition of the previous life. Once he becomes the king of the world, for the stability of the world, the first thing to do is to ban guns. That's a side effect of the giantization experiment. The toxin cannot be completely eradicated, Guy said tremblingly, but as long as the drug is stopped and the withdrawal reaction is resolved, there will be no great danger to life. You know it very well. Of course, I developed candy, after all. Guy couldn't help being a little proud, but after seeing Luffy's expression, he shuddered again. I will definitely solve it completely. As for how to explain to Big Mom, now is not the time to consider this issue. In short, save your own life first. Luffy grabbed Guy and threw him into the melee. Take care of him. Don't worry, Luffy. Sanji grabbed it. After doing this, Luffy looked at Virgo and walked towards him. As he approached, Virgo's breathing became more difficult, and the haki looming over him became heavier. Straw Hat. Luffy, he subconsciously took half a step back. After noticing that Luffy showed a trace of killing intent, he turned around and ran away without saying a word. Moonwalk. Walking in the air, Virgo quickly ran in the direction of Punk Hazard. 6 styles are very proficient, and you can maintain a clear consciousness in front of my haki. Even among vice admirals, your strength is quite good. Luffy raised his right hand, and a group of armed colors gathered in his palm. Then throw it suddenly. Virgo, who had already run hundreds of meters, was startled. He looked back at the government ship, and in his knowledgeable perception, a huge mass of energy hit him. The sound heard was a huge roar, which seemed to shatter the eardrum. Boom. Suddenly, a big explosion engulfed Virgo. Billowing thick smoke filled the sea. Virgo was hit unconscious, and one arm disappeared with the sound of the explosion. With a plop, it fell into the sea. On the Mary, Guy turned pale with fright. These are the 4 emperors, they are monsters among monsters, and the so-called vice admiral is no match for such a terrifying existence. The marine soldiers on the warship were also frightened. Got to sweat profusely. Then, I saw Luffy in the straw hat looking at them. We don't know anything, it's all from Vice Admiral. No, it's all from Virgo. In a flash, Luffy appeared in front of many soldiers. The knowledgeable mind-reading technique locks on everyone. Which of you is an accomplice? No, I don't know anything. Everyone on the warship shook their heads. Words can deceive, but the heart cannot. Luffy is also very surprised. These people really don't know anything. How on earth did Virgo get his subordinates to change the child abduction incident into a shipwreck? Or, the person who knows these is not on this warship but stayed in the G5 branch. Forget it, since you don't know, I'll go around you once. Luffy was not interested in killing innocent people indiscriminately, so he punched out immediately. Boom. The power of the vibration tore apart the ship of the government next door, and the subordinates of Guy Saw on the ship were pierced through the heart by the power of the vibration and died instantly. He died peacefully. Together with the ship, it slowly sank to the bottom of the sea. After doing this, he returned to the Sunny. Looking at Monet, he said, Doflamingo hasn't come yet, you show the way, we go directly to Dressrosa. Faced with such strong demands, Sha Nai had no choice but to take out a permanent pointer. A momentary thought was born in her heart. Just crush the pointer. But this is meaningless, it will only irritate the other party. Can't find Dressrosa without the pointer? She knelt down and begged, saying, please let the young master go. For this, I am willing to do anything. Having no time to talk to her, Luffy handed the needle to Nami. Come on, to Dressrosa. Not long after they left, in about a quarter of an hour. Doflamingo rushed over as fast as he could. Looking at Punk Hazard who was close at hand, his expression became serious. There were bursts of loud noises from the island, and strong cold air and high-temperature hot wind alternately spread to the sea surface from time to time. What happened? Because of these two opposing forces, the climate above the island at this time has become very strange. Doflamingo released his knowledgeable color to investigate the situation. Suddenly, he lowered his gaze. On the surface of the sea, a dead body was floating. Virgo. Doflamingo lowered his body suddenly, and stepped on the invisible silk thread to come to the corpse. The body was floating on the blood-red sea, and one arm was gone. The death was extremely tragic. There are sharks coming around smelling fishy. Straw Hat. Without thinking, he can probably guess who opened it. Can kill Virgo so easily, and there is no sign of resistance from the body, only Emperor-level combat power. Doflamingo is furious, but that's all. Sorry I'm late, rest in peace. Under Doflamingo's sunglasses, his eyes are cold. Your death will not be in vain. You have landed on the new island Punk Hazard, reward 10,000 adventure coins. You have sailed in New World for a day, and you will be rewarded with 1,000 adventure coins. You have landed on the new island Dressrosa, rewarded with 10,000 adventure coins. Adventure coin. 273,525. It was already the next morning when we arrived at the next island, Dressrosa. After all, it was late at night, and everyone was a little tired, so they didn't rush on their way seriously. Even Luffy has to pay rations at night. I handed it over to Vivi last night. The princess expressed her satisfaction, and got up early the next morning to make breakfast for everyone. After breakfast, Luffy lowered the two boats and headed for Dressrosa from the sea. I can see the island. Uda excited like a lark. Luffy did not let the ship go to the regular port, but docked on the west coast of Dressrosa. There are a large number of mushroom rocks on the coast, which surround the island like the walls of the kingdom. Chopper. How are the kids? Luffy asked after getting off the boat. Their spirits are still in the world of songs, so far they have only lost a little nutrition. It is a bit tricky to solve the withdrawal reaction. Chopper said distress-edly. Guy on the side was wearing seastone shackles. When Yanshin laughed. Heh 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 heh. The preparation of the relieving agent requires some medicinal materials, which are not available on your ship. You should be able to buy them on this island. Sanji smoked a cigarette early in the morning and said, Chopper, go to the town to see if you can buy it, I'll watch him here. Then I'm counting on you, Sanji. Chopper jumped off the boat with a small medical kit on his back. Frankie also chose to stay together. Then let's go. Luffy led the crowd towards the city on the island. Dressrosa is not a big island, on the contrary, it is small. The population of the entire country is only a few 100,000 people. Compared with Alabasta, the scale is 2 orders of magnitude worse. Of course, because it is so small, the whole country appears to be relatively rich, with 80 to 90% of the population living in a big city. Moreover, the king is one of the 7 warlords of the sea, and he is not afraid of pirates looting at all. As a result, it looks very prosperous here, and some exquisite buildings can be seen everywhere. The residents here are also very hospitable. That Shicibukai, Doflamingo, seems to be doing well as king. Uda was a little surprised and said, obviously a big villain. Ha ha. Luffy just smiled. The difficulty of managing this kind of country is about the same as managing an ordinary town in the previous life. As the king, Doflamingo, even if he does nothing, the country will run smoothly. What's more, Doflamingo is still Shicibukai. Uda, when you travel to a country, most of the time, what you see is the glamorous side. But if you settle down, you will gradually realize the other side of it. Dressrosa is also known as the country of love, passion and toys. Luffy shook his head. Just like in the previous life, people who travel abroad for the first time, they see a lot of things that are so fresh. This is better than domestic, and that is better than domestic. After living there for a few years, I will gradually remove the filter and slowly discover the other side of my daily life. The land of love and passion and toys. After everyone entered the town, they saw love and passion and toys. Couples can be seen everywhere on the street. There are also enthusiastic dancers performing dances on the street, and passers-by stop and watch, and they will also drop a lot of money. Of course, what everyone cares about the most is the toys that can be seen everywhere, as if living in this city like ordinary people. What a strange country. Nami sighed. It's obviously a toy, but it lives in harmony with humans. Vivi ran to the dessert shop on the street and bought some desserts for everyone. Chopper got the marshmallow and happily took a bite. Ah, no, it's not the time to eat these if you're looking for a pharmacy. Go ahead. Do you have enough money? Chopper pulled a few coins from his pocket, totaling 300 Baileys. He looked at Luffy with tears in his eyes. I'm out of money, Luffy. Ha ha ha, here you are. Luffy laughed and gave him 1,000,000 Baileys pocket money. Minus 35. Chopper got a thick stack of banknotes, and was about to faint from happiness. Although usually Nami will give salary to everyone, but Nami knows everything. Luffy, I'll go with you, Chopper. As one of the weaker duo, Usopp stepped up immediately. Yo ho 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 ho, let me come too. Brook, as the bodyguard, accompanied the two to find the pharmacy. At this time, Monet stood up and said softly, Lord Luffy, let me take you to the palace. What's the hurry? Luffy glanced at her and ignored her. He took UTA and others and wandered around the city. No one noticed at first, but was quickly recognized. Then, the originally bustling street was empty in a blink of an eye. It's the Four Emperors, Straw Hat Luffy. Shouts of fear spread everywhere. The dancers ran away, the bands singing on the street disappeared, the shops along the street were closed, the lovers broke up, and the men left the women and ran away. Luffy spread his hands and said to UTA beside him, Look, it really turned out like this. Ha 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 ha. Zoro couldn't help laughing. Uda puffed up his cheeks. The people here are really annoying. Luffy is a good person, are you so afraid? Suddenly, Luffy's eyes narrowed slightly, and he saw the future a few seconds later. From the corner of the alley, a delicate figure bumped into his arms. Ah. Sorry. It was a woman's voice. Then, a group of men in suits rushed out of the alley. Don't try to run. Sorry. The delicate woman apologized again in a low voice, and then ran away quickly. She was wearing a hat, and Luffy couldn't see what she looked like. The man in the suit ignored Luffy, didn't recognize him, but went straight after him. As expected of Captain Luffy, I have an affair everywhere, Nuoqigao said jokingly. Then, what was written on the paper? Is it the place of the date, or the room number of the hotel? You know a lot, Nuoqigao. Luffy cursed from the bottom of his heart, and opened his palm. A ball of crumpled paper was stuffed by that woman just now. Only 2 locations are listed on it. Not sure about the terminus. Dressrosa Northwest Bridge. Luffy probably knew who it was. Go shopping. I'll leave for a while. Hearing this, UTA said, Luffy. Are you going to see that woman? Tai. Uda jumped on Luffy's back all of a sudden, pestered him and said, I want to go too. Robin couldn't help chuckling. Nami and Vivi looked at each other, then nodded with a smile. Zoro, protect everyone, Luffy said helplessly, with UTA on his back. I'll take you there, come down. I don't, you carry me, Uda giggled and hugged him tighter from behind. The 2 giant pandas squeezed Luffy's back hard, which made Luffy feel that the girl has grown bigger again, probably because of himself. Getting bigger is getting bigger, but age seems to go backwards. If you don't come down, I'll pinch your ass. Pinch it. Uda has the expression of a dead pig who is not afraid of boiling water. Luffy lost and had to carry her to the destination. Watching the 2 leave, Robin said with some amusement, I really don't know who is the older one. Kaya smiled and said, because I have experienced loneliness for 10 years, so I really care. Okay, Luffy must have something important, let him go. Nami clapped his hands and said, without Luffy on the side, our recognition is not so high, let's continue shopping. She's going to buy some new clothes for Luffy. Because I jumped another 10 centimeters and grew a lot taller, my original clothes didn't fit me anymore. To the southwest of Dressrosa Island, there is a smaller outlying island. Connecting the 2 outlying islands is a long steel bridge. In the seawater under this bridge lives a vicious creature called Beta. They would rush out of the sea and attack anyone crossing the bridge. Over time, it was abandoned here. The protective railings on both sides of the bridge were also crooked by the fighting fish. When Luffy came here with UTA on his back, he saw more than a dozen betta fish floating on the sea with their bellies turned. Uda, we're here, come down. Luffy squeezed Uda's little ass hard. The ass that has practiced dancing all the year round is full of elasticity. It hurts. Uda bit Luffy's ear angrily, but unfortunately it was rubber, her revenge failed. You must have made me famous. Jumping off Luffy's back, UTA couldn't help rubbing his ass. Luffy laughed and stopped teasing the little diva. He shouted to the deserted long bridge, come out, I'm already here, what else are you hiding? As soon as the words fell, a vigorous figure jumped out from the forest beside him. Meet you for the first time, Monkey D. Luffy. It was the woman who bumped into him before, wearing a wine-red hat with a pair of goggles. Her hair was orange, and she was a pretty woman, wearing a short dress, dark black stockings, and a pair of brown high boots. What do you want from my Luffy? At this time, Uta didn't care about the pain in his butt, so he hurriedly stepped forward and asked with his waist. Ha ha ha, is this my sister-in-law too? Luffy. There was a chuckle from behind. Luffy and Uta turned away together. It was a young man wearing a hat. He has wavy blonde hair, a scar over his left eye, and a kind smile on his face. Sure enough, it was Sabo. Luffy thought to himself, with a surprised expression on his face. Are you Sabo? Eh? It's a good thing you recognized me at a glance. Sabo was taken aback, and laughed. I haven't seen you for 10 years. Great, I won, Sabo. The woman before said happily. Let me just say, Luffy will definitely recognize you the first time. Seeing this scene, Uta blinked and had to look at Luffy with puzzled eyes. Sorry, I was rude just now, I'm Clar. Clar waved to Uta and smiled. Sabo took off his hat and also said to Uta. My name is Sabo, I was Luffy's sworn brother when I was a child, and I have heard your name from Luffy before, you are Wu Tower? Not that he recognized it, he had never seen Uta. Just heard it a while ago. Uta showed a dazed expression. It's our first time meeting, I'm Uta, she greeted with a smile, and admitted generously, it's the sister-in-law you mentioned. Luffy had to continue to perform, said, Sabo, aren't you dead? About this matter, it's a long story, and I will tell you slowly later. Sabo put his hat back on, grinning and said, I'm a member of the Revolutionary Army now, Luffy, I'm here specially to wait for you. After knowing that you entered the New World, I came here to wait for you. If it was you, you would pass by this island sooner or later. Luffy was a little puzzled by these words. How do you know this? Although New World doesn't have 7 fixed magnetic routes like Paradise Sea, how did you know that I would pass through Dressrosa? The magnetic force of the New World is chaotic, and there is no fixed magnetic route. They all choose a safe route to advance from the 3 points of the new version of the record pointer. Maybe at the beginning, the 3 people chose 3 islands respectively, but after a period of sailing, they will meet at a certain island ahead. This is reasonable. But Dressrosa is clearly not that kind of meeting point. In response, Sabo grinned and said, because I met a fortune-telling pirate before, I asked him a little bit. It's a pirate supernova of the same era as you. What's it called? Claire added on the side. The captain of the Hawkins pirates, Basil Hawkins, has a bounty of 249 million Baileys. I see. Luffy understood. Then it gets a little weird. Mrs. Hyori of the Fishmen Island could not predict what happened to him. But Hawkins can. At least it can be predicted that he will pass by this island sooner or later. This is not a devil fruit ability. There are several schools of divination in this world. Hyori is through the crystal ball, Hawkins is through the tarot. And the effect of divination is also different. All in all, very mysterious. Here's a chance to grab Hawkins and take a closer look. Thinking of this, Luffy reached out to Sabo and said, actually, I also wanted to find your Revolutionary Army, but I didn't expect to meet you here. Sabo, how have you been all these years? Sabo holds it. Actually, I lost my memory. It was during the Summit War. I saw you saved Ace, and I remembered everything. Luffy, you have become a famous big pirate. Already listed you as 4 emperors, ha 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 x2. The two looked at each other and laughed. Claire watched the 2 brothers reunite with a smile. When his eyes fell on Luffy, there was a lot of admiration in his eyes. When she saw the news that Straw Hat Luffy raided the Holy Land and killed 39 celestial dragons, she was so shocked that she lost her mind. There are such idiots in the world. As a former slave of the celestial dragons, she has always wanted to meet the legendary man. This is not a place to talk. If you want to chat, let's change the environment. You have landed on the new island of Greenbit, and you will be rewarded with 10,000 adventure coins. Adventure coin. 273,525. 283,525. Everyone moved to a quieter place. On the north side of Dressrosa, after passing the Long Iron Bridge, you come to an uninhabited island smaller than Dressrosa. Luffy received a prompt from the system synchronously. No one will come to this uninhabited island. Sabo took Luffy into the forest. Because it is an uninhabited island, There are no traces of human activities here, and the forest remains very primitive. While chatting, the four picked up some dry firewood on the ground, and they died. Koala took out the iron pot, picked some mushrooms and wild fruits in the forest with Uta, went to the beach to pick up some shellfish, and went to the sea to catch some fish. A pot of miscellaneous things was stewed. Sabo was sitting on a rotten log, grilling fish while talking about the past. Sorry, Luffy, when I was a child, I saw the ugly side of the Goa kingdom, and I felt ashamed of myself as a nobleman. I only wanted to escape from that country, so I left a letter to you and Ace, and I couldn't wait to go to sea. As a result, you also know, at that time, celestial dragons happened to be visiting East Blue. As soon as I went out to sea, I encountered celestial dragon's ship and encountered their shelling. It was your father, Mr. Long, who saved me, but I lost my memory at that time. The hometown of Luffy and Sabo is the Kingdom of Goa in East Blue. Known as the most beautiful country in East Blue, a country that completely excludes unnecessary things as a model of a segregated society. The royal family lives in the palace, nobles live in High Town. Commoners live on Center Street. People of different status are divided into different areas. Everything is in good order. Wangdu is gorgeous and clean. And compared to it, on the note that Koala stuffed to Luffy before, the terminal of uncertain things, written as the place where the Kingdom of Goa dumps garbage. It can also be understood as a slum. Full of rot and stench, it is the dark side that Goa Kingdom wants to erase. It's like walking on the streets of London in the 1913th century in the previous life. Beware of someone dumping shit on your head. People who live in the capital of King Goa will also pile up such excrement to the terminal of uncertain objects. Recalling the Goa Kingdom, Luffy didn't have much emotion. After all, it is not a personal experience, but such a memory. And, compared to London, pouring feces into drinking rivers has caused a serious sanitation crisis. On the contrary, the Kingdom of Goa is doing pretty well. At that time, I accidentally learned that the royal family colluded with pirates and wanted to burn the terminal of the uncertain object with a torch. Sabo said with a smile. I didn't understand it when I was young, but now that I think about it, I just want to erase the bad side in response to the visit of celestial dragons. On the downside, besides those overflowing stinks, there are the people who live in those stinks. As the most beautiful country in East Blue, how can it show such unbeautiful things in front of celestial dragons? Just burn it. Sometimes, the ruler's thinking is so simple. Luffy also found it ridiculous. Ha ha ha, thank you for surviving. But to be honest, it is not easy to deal with garbage, including human excrement, which has always been a major problem in urban development. So, I feel ashamed of my noble status and want to escape that false beauty. Sabo sighed, then shook his head and said, in short, the story is roughly like this. Later, I lost my memory and stayed in the Revolutionary Army until I finally regained my memory not long ago. After talking about himself, he asked about Luffy. In his memory, Luffy was the weakest of the three brothers when he was a child. Even if he eats rubber fruit and becomes an ability user, he still cannot use his ability well. In a blink of an eye, they are now 4 emperors. He wondered what happened to Luffy. For this curiosity, Luffy edited it on the spot. Briefly describe some of your past adventures. Afterwards, I set my sights on Big Mom. In order to fight against the world government, a huge force is needed. As he spoke, Luffy stretched his hand across the space, and took out an invitation letter from the pocket space. This is an invitation card for the wedding. If you want to come, just take it and come to Cake Island to attend the wedding. Huh? Are you married to 4 emperors, Big Mom? Koala, who had been listening, said in surprise. The marriage of the 4 emperors, or an alliance, this will probably cause shocks all over the world. Sabo came to a sudden. So that's it, Liberation Warrior Sun God, no wonder the world government has unusual malice towards you. With that said, he took out a piece of paper from his hat and handed it to Luffy. This is my life card, if you need it, you can come to me at any time. After a pause, he smiled again. Luffy, you killed so many celestial dragons. After our revolutionary army found out, many people became your fans. Koala also, she wants to see you more than I do. Koala put away the invitation card with a smile on her face. If there is a chance, I would also like to visit your revolutionary army headquarters. Luffy shook his head. He picked up the grilled fish and handed it to Uta on the 3 sides. After taking it, Uta took a bite and said vaguely, I'm going too. Luffy's father, what kind of person is Mr. Long? She inquired ahead of time. Sabo laughed, and everyone chatted. Suddenly, Luffy's eyes narrowed slightly, and from the corner of his eyes, he glanced at the bushes beside him. Noticing his gaze, Sabo also noticed the abnormality immediately. Little people, Luffy said with a smile, there is also a small human kingdom here. Saying that, a conqueror's haki instantly charged towards the bushes. Boom. It was as if a gust of wind had blown by, and there were screams in the bushes. Not good, I was discovered by the adults, run. Sabo's figure flashed, and he immediately chased after him. After a while, several little people were brought back. These small people are only the size of a palm, and one of them wears a hat with a crown on his head, and 2 needles about his height are stuck in his waist. I am the commander of the Dongtada tribe, Leo. You adults, you are sent by Doflamingo. Although he was arrested, Leo still looked aggressive. Doflamingo? Sabo was taken aback. Eh? Isn't it? Leo was also stunned. Sabo shook his head. I know Doflamingo, the king of this country, one of the Shicibukai. Do you have any grudge against him? Hearing this, Leo immediately became angry. He is not the king of this country, he is just a despicable pirate, and the king is the Riku clan. Dressrosa, the royal palace. Hey, Dover, the 4 Emperor's Straw Hat crew has arrived, and now there is a lot of commotion in the town. The top cadre, Tien Lepore said with a runny nose. Doflamingo sat on the king's throne, looking sullen. Think back to what happened last night. When he arrived at Punk Hazard, Virgo was killed, Guy disappeared, and there were 2 admirals fighting to the death on the island. He didn't dare to stay in that place for too long, and returned to Dressrosa that night. The Straw Hat Luffy is gone, and the others are shopping on the Avenue of Lovers. Diamante, another top cadre, snorted coldly. Dover, what are we going to do? Pika has a huge head, but his voice is extremely sharp. That guy killed Virgo, and if he doesn't pay back to them, how can he comfort Virgo, my hero? Fofura for Virgo's death was not in vain. Doflamingo crossed his legs and said with a sneer, even if it is a straw hat, he killed my people first, so he should calm down. Is this what you mean by not being in vain? Diamante's face was dull. Don't provoke the 4 emperors, they are not monsters that can be easily fought against. Doflamingo said lightly. When a family member died, he was also very sad. Ask him if he wants revenge, of course he does. If there is such an ability, since they have come, there is no escape. Torable, send someone to meet them, and prepare to hold a banquet in the palace. Doflamingo ordered immediately. Hey, do you want to try it and use it? Let the sugar turn those people into toys. Don't do unnecessary things. Doflamingo immediately shed a trace of cold sweat. This group of people is really ignorant and fearless. Whether they understand or not, Tien is called Sihu. Devil Fruit's abilities are not omnipotent. Contact Monet first to get some information. Understood, I'm going now. While they were discussing countermeasures. The other side. On Lover's Avenue, someone wanted to contact the Straw Hats 1 step ahead of them. It was a dancer in hot clothes with a red flower on her head. Paramecia, a person with the ability to stare at the fruit. Former Princess Dressrosa, now Don Quixote family Torable Legion killer. We have to find a way to remind them about the sugar. It will be troublesome if they are tricked. Violet hid in the alley, observing the Straw Hat crew from a distance. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I have decided to find Luffy the Straw Hat. Where did he go? With her eyes closed, her field of vision is like the eyes of a bird flying in the sky, overlooking the whole city, looking for the figure of Luffy in the Straw Hat. The name of the ability is clairvoyance. Can take oneself as the center and see a radius of 4,000 kilometers. The disadvantage is that such a large range is not particularly meaningful. If she wants to find someone, she still has to observe a little bit. I've searched all over the city, but I can't find it. The only place left, there is only there. Violet spread her vision to Greenbit to the north. Finally, she finds Luffy the Straw Hat, and what's going on? Little people? Doflamingo stole the country? Sabo said in surprise. What the little human Leo told was completely opposite to what he saw and heard in Dressrosa. Koala pondered. Doflamingo is an intermediary in the dark world, and he sold a lot of arms from him. Unexpectedly, he is still doing such things. Granulated sugar, Don Quixote family cadre. Paramecia children's fruit ability. People who can turn the person they touch into the toy that the capable person thinks of, and who have a relationship with the target who has been turned into a toy, will lose the memory of the object that has been turned into a toy. Sabo's face was ugly. Is he relying on such means to rule this country? Luffy laughed and said, "You revolutionary army, what are you going to do, eh?" Suddenly, he looked up to the sky. "What's up, Luffy?" Sabo stared, following his gaze. There is nothing in the sky. Observation Haki also found nothing unusual. Luffy stood up, still looking at the sky. Sabo's knowledgeable color can't find it, but he can. Someone is spying on us. Saying so, Luffy probably guessed who it was. Immediately smiled at the sky. I also have something to do with Doflamingo. Let's go, Sabo. These small people. Sabo thought for a while, then let go of Leo and the others, bowed his head and said, "If the matter is true, our revolutionary army will never sit idly by. Go back. I'll go investigate first." Lover's Avenue. In the alley, Violet was frightened into a cold sweat. "Find me?" Straw Hat Luffy suddenly smiled at the sky. That position is her bird's sleep. Is this the Four Emperors? Is really a terrifying existence. But Violet wasn't frightened, though a little frightened. They met the little people. Anyway, this is an extremely rare opportunity, and no one can save the country except Straw Hat Luffy. Violet clenched her fists and murmured nervously subconsciously. "Yo-ho-ho. Beautiful lady, what do you want to see our captain for?" A ghostly, eerie laugh came from behind. Violet froze. Turning his head slowly, what came into view was a face. "Ah!" she screamed, quickly covering her mouth. "You scared her, Brook," Usopp said resignedly. Carrying a pack full of medicines, Chopper asked, "What did you just say? Save this country?" Only then did Violet see Chopper, and her eyes lit up immediately. "The pet tanuki of the Straw Hats. I'm a reindeer," Chopper retorted loudly, pointing to the horns on his head. "Look at these pair of horns, what are they?" Violet sees Usopp again. The long-nosed man of the Straw Hats. "The man with the long nose is too much. I am the king of sniper, Nuoqigao." "Great, please tell me Straw Hat Luffy, be careful of Sugar's ability," Violet said hastily. "Once you get hit, everything will be over." "Huh? What do you mean? Who are you?" "I am." Royal Palace. Doflamingo asked his subordinates to stand down, and he picked up the phone bug himself. He contacted Four Emperors Kaido. He told the other party completely about the problems he encountered. "It's really ugly, ugly." The phone bug imitated Kaido's tone, seeming quite disdainful. Fur. This is not a problem I can solve. Kaido, Guy-san was caught by the Straw Hats. I'm afraid it will be difficult to produce this month's man-made devil fruit. I'll come over in person." Communications were cut off. Doflamingo still doesn't feel safe. He doesn't want to be killed by the Straw Hats. "But I also don't want to give up my career here and run away." Suddenly, a phone call came. Doflamingo was taken aback. After connecting, the voice from the opposite side made his face ugly. "Doflamingo, is Luffy the Straw Hat in your place?" This voice. Knights of God. Doflamingo's complexion changed slightly. "The government has just received a report. Now you find a way to hold Straw Hat crew. We will come over soon. We must not let them run away." Fur. "Do you want me to use my life to help you solve your troubles?" Doflamingo sneered. He didn't want to get involved. If you compare the Knights of God and the Straw Hat Luffy, who is the enemy and who is the friend? Is this question still needed? Of course. Straw Hat Luffy.